Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast. This is episode number 329. My name is Colin Moriarty. I'm joined as always by my son, Chris Raygun. Chris, you look svelte today in that button-down shirt. You got such a nice frame.
Thank you.
How are you today, my friend?
Doing okay. I got an early start, but it was kind of thrown off today because I think I mentioned on a previous episode that my garbage disposal was kind of fucky, and I had to get somebody to come and get it. And they came today, but they did that thing where they were like, "Oh, they'll be here in the next like 15 to 20 minutes." And so I was like, "Oh shit, do I go get something to eat real quick, or like can I leave? Like what's going on?" And so I was like, nah, I won't. I'll wait the 15 to 20 minutes. And then like 40 minutes pass and they're still not here. And I'm like, oh, God damn it. I'm so hungry. What the fuck? And then they came here like right before we started recording. So I let the guy in. I went and grabbed a sandwich real quick from like this deli that's really close. And a Starbucks. Because I'm just like, it sucks because I got up so early today and I felt ahead of time. Or I felt ahead of schedule and it ended up not mattering really. So it's one of them days.
By the way, I just had to mute it real quick. If anyone's hearing anything outside, I think the gate on my audio is good, but there's a guy aerating my lawn and overseeding my lawn right now, so it's pretty loud out there. So sorry about that timing. But Dr. Vaughn does his thing on that lawn with his PhD in plant nutrition or whatever he's got. He's great. Oh wait, it's coming back here. Can you hear that?
Not really. I heard like a smidge of it.
Okay, that's good. That's great.
Yeah.
I don't have a very big lawn, so hopefully he'll be gone soon. No, but it's good to be here with you today. Obviously, Dustin is gone, and he's in Japan. He's coming back. I think he's imminently coming back. So he'll be back on the next episode. And I think he enjoyed himself, he and Holly, over there. So it's just the two of us one more time. Somewhat slow episode today, but yeah, nothing really going on in my world. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's just like one day into another, 1 week into another. I don't even know.
Yeah. It is what it is at this point, you know?
And I have a great life. Like I'm not trying to shit on it at all. I think it's awesome. But I also, it's like, does everyone ultimately as they get older feel like this, where it's just, it's not a listlessness at all. I don't mind it really. I'm content. It's just like, there's nothing to report. I just saw my mom the other day and she's like, oh, so what's been going on and all this? And I'm like, I don't know. You know, like,
authentically nothing. Yeah, I always have to tell that to my parents. It's like, how have things been? It's like the same, completely fine. Sometimes I think about it in the context of, I think about the times of my life where things have been very, very eventful, and I kind of cherish the mundanity. You know what I mean? Because eventfulness, that could be a positive, but it could also be like a negative. So in my opinion, like if everything's like boring and like fine, that means nothing terrible is going on either. So that's how I choose to look at it.
Yeah, man, that's no news is good news. Same kind of mentality. Yeah, I agree. Well, I turned 40 a few days ago from when we're recording. Whew.
How's it feel?
How is that possible? You know? And Mike and I were laughing last night because we were talking about someone being in their 90s or whatever, and I'm like, you're going to tell me that I may live twice as long as I've lived now and then add 10 years to it? What am I going to do for all that time? You know, what the fuck am I going to do? My God, eventually you got to pull don't pull your own trigger, but eventually you got to go.
Yeah.
Just go.
Yeah. The way that I feel about it is if I can't reliably walk anywhere anymore, like just take me out. You have my permission.
Send me to Mars. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I'll be one of the old fellers on Mars.
Yeah. Shoot me out to Mars and let me die in peace. Well, it's good to be here with you today, Chris, for another episode of Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast. Goes live each and every week, 3 days early and ad-free over on Patreon. Patreon.com/laststandmedia, where more than 13,000 of you support us. We really appreciate you. Couldn't do it without you. Whether you support us at the $1, $2, $5, $10 tier, etc. You get different perks for doing that. $5 a month is the sweet spot. For that, you get early ad-free access to every episode of this show. You get Sacred Symbols Plus once every week and then twice every other week over on Patreon as well. That's our supplemental podcast to this show. Recent episodes include a Moriarty Cross Jaffe about all sorts of topics that's going live this weekend. We did an Until Dawn spoiler cast and review discussion. We did an entire deep dive into Ubisoft's situation. We did a conversation about Dead Rising Remastered. I had Vince on to talk about the history of PlayStation and the future of Astro Bot, PS5 Pro, lots of different stuff. Next week, I sit down with Cog over from the Defining Duke podcast, another podcast you get access to as part of our Patreon, because our Patreon is the most valuable in all the land. And we're going to do Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, which came out in July, so it's very old, but I finally got around to beating it. We'll talk about it later, and platinuming it. And I asked everyone in the Discord, does anyone play this game? And then I found a taker. I'm like, yeah, we should talk about this game because I think it's really good. So lots of cool stuff going over there on Sacred Symbols Plus. Remember, if you support us on Patreon as well, you get access to an RSS link that you can just put right in your podcast service of choice. Get all the podcasts early and ad-free without having to log in to Patreon if you don't want to. Access to Spotify as well. Discord access, the ability to submit your questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, and ideas, and so on. This is true for all of our shows. So Sacred Symbols, Defining Duke, Punching Up, and so on and so forth. So thank you for your support over there, and merch over at laststandmedia.store. Okay. Should we get right into it? It feels quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what else is that? I mean, like we said, we don't have anything going on. You know what I mean? Like, I could talk about the garbage disposal guy more, but like, there's really nothing there.
Tell me more about him.
He was a stocky fellow.
Yeah.
He was nice. Yeah. He commented on my, because I have like my boxing stuff on the wall, just because I was like, I don't like empty wall space. It bothers the hell out of me. It makes me feel like I'm in a prison or like a dorm or something. I don't like it. So like I put all my boxing stuff on the wall. I was like, hey, you a boxer? And I was like, no. And he was like really confused because it's just all this boxing memorabilia. And I was just like, no,
just maybe one point in time.
1 point. Briefly.
All right. Well, let's just get into some of these things then and talk. See what the audience has to say. Obviously, you can write into us on Patreon, patreon.com/lastdaymedia. Like I said, weekly thread in the news feed there for all the different shows. You just respond to it. We comb through it, pull your inquiries out. You hear them throughout the show. If you've listened to the show, you know that we are very much in touch with you guys. It's funny because I listen to so many shows and no one really talks to the audience. And I'm like, if I didn't get anything from the audience, what would I even talk about? It would. I'm like really running out of shit, at this age. And this period of time, because some people say like, Colin repeats stories and does all this. I'm like, dude, I've been doing this for 22 years. I don't know what else to say. What else do you want me to say?
Yeah, what do you?
I'm out.
It's interesting. I always think about the person who would complain about that stuff, and I think about like, what are the stories that person tells? You know what I mean? Like, is that person does that person have such an acumen of like incredible, like once in a lifetime stories that they can repeat week after week for 22 years? I doubt it. You know what I mean? Like, we're still people.
Right.
We're not living like crazy, interesting lives, That's
why I get a little annoyed when no one really does it to me anymore. I think I've cleaned up my stuff over time, but not completely. But when people fixate on the words you use or the little time the time buyers you use, the ums and the okays or whatever. And I think it's like, let me listen to you for an hour.
Right.
Nonetheless, 10,000. And then I'll destroy your confidence too. All right. I thought this first inquiry from Evan was interesting, and I wanted to read it. He said, "Hello, gents. And imagine my surprise when I heard Colin drop the band name The Buzzhorn last episode. It was a name I haven't heard spoken out loud in decades. My brother Todd was the bassist in the band. I spent my teens watching them go from garage band to Milwaukee radio played to opening for the likes of the Deftones and Rob Zombie. Even the lead singer of POD wore a Buzzhorn shirt at a concert back in the day. I have proud memories of manning the merch booth during album launches. The entire family was over the moon when they got signed to Atlantic Records and moved to LA to record it for 4 months. I still recall my brother showing us a picture of the Buzzhorn billboard on Sunset Boulevard. Sadly, it wasn't meant to be, but after the devastation of the band breaking up after the major label debut album failed to gain traction, my brother eventually found his way and is currently the tour manager for the Violent Femmes. To add to this random moment, I just spent 2 awesome days hanging with Holly and Dustin in Kyoto. The fact that these 2 things happened within the past week is wild. Anyway, keep doing what you're doing, and thanks for being one of the few people that appreciated my brother's music." That's so funny, Evan. So your brother, you must be Evan Joseph. Your brother is Todd Joseph, like you said. The Buzzhorn was just like a rock band that I randomly discovered from, like I said, EA's Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. They had a song on the EA soundtracks used to be fucking sick. I found so many bands and songs from EA games back in the day. I don't know if they still do that because I don't play them anymore, but it's probably a lot of like hip hop and trash now. Not like good hip hop from the 90s and early 2000s, but a lot of just like, I'm sure that's what it is. But back in the day, it was like a lot of random rock and rap rock and hip hop and all sorts of things. And I discovered a lot of stuff from these games. And the Buzzhorn had a song on Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2 called Ordinary. And I fucking love that song. And I'll tell you even more, Evan, is my brother Dagan also loves that song. And I know that the Buzzhorn had one album around the time that game came out called Disconnected. Like you said, it didn't hit and then they went away. But dude, Ordinary, people should look up the Buzzhorn song Ordinary. It's so good. The melodies, or actually it's the harmonies in the vocals, and there's like two guys singing, or it sounds like that. Maybe it's probably the same guy singing layered in the studio, but so good. So it's funny, man. Yeah, I know the Buzzhorn. Shout out to the Buzzhorn. I'm sorry. It's so funny how some bands just make it, some bands don't. I know quite a few bands that, or I'm familiar with quite a few bands that have really one album and then never really made it. A big example of that is a band I really, really love called that had one record in 2002 called the Apex Theory. Do you know this band by chance?
No.
It was founded by the original drummer of System of a Down, who became the singer of the Apex Theory. And they had one album called Topsy Turvy. And I damn well say right now, it is the best one-off record. I can't even believe it, how good it fucking is. And it's so good. And then they just kind of went away. And it's like, what? This is why I wait. One of my favorite bands is Dredge. As everyone knows, they haven't released a record in 13 years. And I'm friendly with the bass player, and we talk once in a while. And it's just like, every time I talk to him, it's like, what are you doing? Like, we need more. You're so good. Don't stop. The Buzzhorn was kind of one of those bands. So shout out to them, Evan. And shout out to you. And shout out to Dustin and Holly. I'm glad you met up with them in Kyoto.
Yeah, it's cool. Shout out to just those soundtracks, by the way, as well. I found a lot of good music through like random video game soundtrack. Like obviously like Tony Hawk Pro Skater and Crazy Taxi are like the big ones for me. But like I remember even stuff like Pure, that there was like an ATV. I don't know who published it or like what. I can't remember at this point because it's so long ago. And I really only played the demo. It was at a time I didn't really have a lot of income. So I couldn't really justify buying games that I just kind of thought were kind of neat. But Pure, I loved. That it was like an ATV racing game. I think like 2010 or 2009, something like that. 2011 latest. But like that soundtrack was banging, dude. And that was a good game as well. But good shit. I'm so fat. And Ramon is the other, and you're a musician, so you'll be interested in this too, I think. But Ramon and I always talk about, because he's a music industry person, where you have a band like the Buzzhorn, this random rock band, and the butterfly effect kind of takes them to the precipice. Mm-hmm. They get signed by a label, they're on Atlantic. Yeah. They make a record and then it just doesn't work. And it's like, damn, you were one step away after being 25 steps away, playing in a garage and playing in a bar and all this stuff. And then you get right there. It's pretty cool. And that's an amazing story, because I'm sure all these guys just work normal jobs and have normal lives. Obviously being a tour manager for the Violent Femmes isn't very normal, but, and you remember that, and that's like an interesting memory. What was a fucking sick song? I think it was on the first Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtrack, but it might have been the second game. Was the Ernie's Here and Now? That's a fucking banger of a song, and the Ernie's are a Richmond band here in Virginia. But that song fucking, oh my god, yeah, you're right. The music, just being bombarded by it. How can you not be into music? I remember I wasn't for a while. Like there was a period where I just didn't understand it. I didn't get why people listen. Like to me, I thought like, what? I don't get it. It sounds. What are you doing? Like I feel like I needed like something visual. And I think it was those games. It was like Tony Hawk and Crazy Taxi 3 specifically was the one that I remember, because I'm sure there were other ones in like the arcades, but like I didn't own 1 and 2. But like Crazy Taxi 3 High Roller, I think it was called, for the Xbox. I had it, and it opened with that Offspring. What the hell was it? Yeah.
All I Want. That's from Ixnay on the Ombre.
Yeah, and I remember being like, this is sick. What the hell is this? Because I think before that I only heard like Spanish music, which I love now, but like at the time I didn't understand what the fuck I just it's gibberish to me. Or just the stuff that my parents felt like was like appropriate to drive me to school and listen to. So it was like Radio Disney, and I thought for a while I just hated music.
No, it's interesting.
Like, I thought genuinely like because it was either Spanish music or like this is the story of a girl who cried a river and drowned. You know what I mean? And I was like, I don't know if I like music very much.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that if that was exposed to either. I was my parents were really and still are really, really into music, and they've seen like because they knew each other since the early 60s. They've seen like everything together, all sorts of bands, and they're not together anymore, but I mean that was like a big part of their lives. And so it was always in like my mom and I at my wedding danced to Christopher Cross Sailing, which is like a late 70s yacht rock song. Everyone knows that song, but the reason we danced to it is because it's like one of my first memories is that song. And so yeah, they were, and then everyone kind of goes in their own direction. And the one thing I appreciate is my parents were they encouraged us all to play instruments and to like go to concerts and do all that. And I really do respect and appreciate that, because it's not easy to like let your kid in 9th or 10th grade go to New York City by himself or with his friends to go see Zebrahead or something like that. So it's always been a big part of my life, and I love stories like the Buzz Horns, even stories like Ramones himself about like all the bands he's played with and kind of the records he's made and the chances, but they don't quite everything just, and being in the music industry is worse than ever, apparently. There's no way the touring's really good. The touring is better than ever, apparently. People go to more live shows than they've ever gone to, but just getting noticed, getting licensed, getting a deal, you have to really self-finance shit.
It's competitive. Yeah, I know a lot. Obviously, like in LA, I know a lot of musicians like kind of busting their ass. They're always at a show, and they're you could tell they're barely scraping by, it is kind of like you're married to that world in some way. Like you just kind of are either okay with crashing on people's floors constantly, and rotating couches, as they say. Yeah, or you're not, and it's not for everybody, for sure.
I highly recommend. It's not a huge YouTube channel. It's just kind of a random YouTube channel that I found. I'm going to it now to see how many subscribers he has. He has 15,000 subscribers. His name is Mike Malone, and the YouTube channel is Malone Drum. He's a drummer in Wisconsin that just is a gig drummer and like a drum teacher, and he just does things about his life. Like, here's my life as a gig drummer, and these are the 3 gigs I have to play in Wisconsin today. And he drives to all of them, sets up, like it's all different music and how much he gets paid and how much he makes, and then like kind of looking at it as a business. And it's really, really fucking good shit. Highly recommend it if people are curious about that. But anyway, we're getting off. I love music so much. It's like one of my favorite things in the world. Like almost as much as I probably love music just as much as I love games, frankly. And torturing my family. Can you imagine when I was 10 years old playing this shit behind me? Like how much everyone wanted to kill themselves, probably.
Drums are so fucking loud, man.
They are crazy.
Like, it is like I don't think I really understood until I was in a room. Like, because I remember like in high school, we were trying to get bands work. I'm just not cooperative enough to be in a band, I think. But I remember trying and being in a room with like just like a real drum kit. And it's just like, you cannot, I promise you, if you've never heard live drums, you're not prepared to, you have no concept of how loud they actually are. It's like infinitely like far louder than you would even imagine.
Hold on, let's see how loud they are. All right, hold on.
Oh my God. It's not going to come through the mic. It's going to be... Loud? It It's so funny.
Did it come through really loud? Because there's a gate.
It came through, but like you could tell, it's like I know how much louder it is, and it's just it's nuts. I mean, like because I've played like guitar on stage and stuff, like for like small stages and stuff where the amps are like crazy loud, and I like that's loud, but like it's almost like a drum doesn't need any of that. like a guitar needs an amp, but like you could just leave a drum set on stage by itself and it'll still fucking.
It's so loud.
It's
my neighbors probably hate me. I am very strict about. I only play from like 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's it. Don't play in the mornings. Fair. Don't play around noon. Don't play after 5. No one's ever complained. In fact, most of my neighbors have been like, "Oh, you're pretty good."
Oh, cool.
I've been like, "Thanks." I haven't played in a long time, but I'm rediscovering all of it, in some sense. But
we should like if whatever if there's ever a point where I find myself in Virginia at some point, it would be cool to like jam.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Or just Ramon and I jam when he comes. Yeah, I'd love to do that. We should actually. Ramon had the idea, knowing that you're a musician, also knowing that Dustin's a musician, where it's like, and Dustin's dad's like a really great drummer as well, which never really comes up. But in the room he records in, because that was his house that he grew up in, and his parents sold him that house and they moved. And that's the room where the drum kit was apparently, and it's like all mega muffled in there and stuff like that. And it's like the center of the house. It's pretty cool.
That's so funny.
But Ramon was sick because Ramon wrote all of our music, as people know, like all of the Last Stand Media stuff. And he was like, if you guys play live, you should play it. Like we should do like a rendition of the song. And
that'd be cool.
Like, so it would be cool if like we never said anything about it, but at Sacred 400 or whatever, we do it live somewhere. And when people walk into the auditorium, there is just like a drum kit and like 2 guitars and a bass just set up, but and then we actually walk out and play the song in the beginning. It would be pretty cool.
That would be sick. Yeah.
So we have time to figure that out, because like I said, I think we're not playing any live shows in 2025, so we have till 2026 to get things right, to get the sheet music distributed. Because I don't even know how to pull. Everything's electronic up. Well, that's actually not true. The songs don't have real drums; they have real bass and guitar.
Right. Yeah.
So I would have to. Go ahead.
No, I was doing real drums is hard because it's just so sound prohibitive. Like everything else because you can play like a guitar like through an amp through headphones, you know what I mean, at all hours of the night. Like I've jammed, like I've sat here and like played music at like 3 a.m. as like loud as humanly possible, but you can't really do that with drums. You can't really work. You know what I mean? Like it's not, you can't plug a headphones into your drum. I guess there's some like electronic drum kits, but like there's it's not the same.
They're gross. Electronic drum kits are gross.
Yeah.
More power to you. I mean, there are some they're getting way more sophisticated. It's not like what the Simmons kits that Phil Collins played in the 80s. They're like way better than that. But I hate electric drum kits. Like it's not real drums. Drums are an acoustic instrument, and you can tell like, because it's basing the sound of the drums. I used to play with a guy, Tal Blevins, that used to work at IGN. He had a house in San Francisco, and he had an electric drum kit in there. We used to all jam, and I'd play that drum kit because that's all I had access to. But I'm like, it's not right. Like I'm playing with these buttons to like make different sounds. I'm like, I don't know, man. This is a cool studio thing. Or if you're in like a new wave band, but I'm not trying to play this. Yeah.
It's
real cymbals, real skins, that pop of the snare and all the rest. And the way you can really manipulate hitting all the drums in a million different ways that it'll never replicate. Electric drum kits will never replicate that.
Yeah. But I mean, we could, it's funny how we really could spend like 6 hours talking about this.
Maybe we shouldn't.
We probably shouldn't. I just I'm trying to get better at mixing. I just posted I did a rendition of Brain Stew.
Yeah, I saw that. That was great.
I felt like I killed it. It was like the first time in a while that I was like, I mixed this perfectly. But I'm still trying to figure out like Reaper and all these like softwares. Like, dude, music mixing software is like some of the most confusing software I've ever had to. Like, I work with a lot of like video editing. I work with After Effects and all that stuff, and like even just like Adobe Illustrator, and I wrap my head around it. I get it completely. But like music software is really fucking tricky. I don't know what it is, but like my brain just breaks.
When I was in a band in college, Paper Champ, we had we spent all of our money. Like we made a little bit of money on these different shows, and we bought an M box to start mixing our own music. Mm-hmm. And what we realized was it would have been better for us to just go to a studio and do this and spend some of that money just for studio time, because it's so complicated, like miking your own shit hard. And it's really hard.
It's hard.
Brain Stew, right, is
simple.
That's the one, right?
I think so.
This is out of tune. But yeah.
It's very out of tune. But that's correct. Yeah, it's a super simple. It's like a good song to. It's actually a really good, like, if you're trying to practice like mixing, it's really good because it's really simple, really easy to like kind of get on track and figure out like what it's supposed to. It's also really easy to compare and contrast like to the original because there's a lot less noise. But
dude, you were 2 or 3 when it came out, but so you wouldn't remember, I don't think. But
no,
I was so excited when Insomniac came out, like, and that Brain Stew. That's your favorite Green Day record? Really?
I think so. Yeah. I love that one.
It's really strong. Like, Geek Stink Breath is on that album, right? Isn't that the first song? Yeah. And I remember I remember seeing the video for it when I was in middle school, and it's like them in the garbage dump or whatever on the couch, I think it is, or whatever. And I was like, dude, this is fucking awesome. You know, because I was introduced to Green Day through Dookie, but I wasn't there when it came out. You know, like I got it eventually. My friends introduced it to me, and that was the first Green Day record. That was really that, and No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom came out that same year. And I remember that was the first time I really was in on things on the ground floor, like a contemporary thing that I wasn't discovering from like a sibling or a friend. And then my favorite Green Day record is actually the one after that, Nimrod.
That's fair.
I fucking love that album. You know, love it. Love it. It's so good. It's so sophisticated, that album. And that song Heshinka, that's my favorite Green Day song. That's on Nimrod. I love that song so much.
That's a good one.
That song rules.
That's respectable. I like Nimrod a lot. I think I like. Yeah, it's like Insomniac, and then I think Dookie and Nimrod are like kind of like tied for me. Like I like both of them. I know a lot of. I know Dookie's like the favorite. I love the tune. I love the tone of Insomniac though. There's something about it. It feels very like scrappy.
Dookie's a little played out, I think. Unfortunately,
Dookie is a little played out. Yeah.
It's like Sgt. Pepper with the Beatles. It's like it's fucking sick, but it's kind of a little played out.
It's kind of like what do you call oh my god, the Queen song. That's the Wayne's World.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, it's like that where it's like I acknowledge that this is like really sophisticated, but like I've heard this far too many times.
Right, exactly.
To appreciate it anymore. It's like I get it.
Exactly.
Like it's fine.
Yeah, and Kerplunk is pretty good too. The one before Dookie, I'm not crazy about it, but then I felt Kerplunk's like with what was after Nimrod, that was Warning. I didn't like that record at all. And then
that's more of a songwriter. I kind of like that one, but it's definitely like there's Macy's Day Parade. I like the melody of it a lot, but that's kind of like a whatever one for me.
And then there's American Idiot, which I actually like a lot. It's different. It's totally different, but it's. I think that's actually a really solid record. And that was when I saw them finally, and that was disappointing just because they didn't play anything from the old records, you know. And you wanted. I think they played King for a Day or something, which was kind of random. Anyway, which is from Nimrod. Anyway, enough music talk. People are like, I don't fucking care about any of this.
Who gives a shit?
Let's see here. We're not really running long. It doesn't matter. There's not. Where do we have to be? Breaking Badgeman wrote in and said, "Hey guys, what are some recent YouTube rabbit holes you've gone down? I've been watching a lot of scam baiting videos, specifically Kip Boga. Have you watched this guy? I'm amazed how he can keep a whole fake conversation going, sometimes playing up to 3 different characters with the aid of voice changers. It's absolutely delicious Schadenfreude, and I'm here for it. Other ones include Gordon Ramsay AI and the classic clip that keeps on giving, steamed hams. Take care, dude. Kip Boga is a fucking legend. Love that guy. I follow him too. I go through spurts where I don't watch him at all, and then I go through a spurt where I'll watch like nothing but Kip Boga for a week. Are you familiar with him?
No.
Oh, it's KITBOGA for people out there that haven't. You fucking love it, dude. I actually think you would love it. He's like this really sophisticated scam baiter, and he basically engages with the people that call you to try to like get you to buy gift cards or like go do these things and all that, and like waste, and basically has a Twitch channel and then makes YouTube videos out of it where he just, the whole point is to try to waste as much time of theirs as possible and fuck with them as much as possible. And it's so, dude, it is, and he plays characters. So he plays like an old woman character or an old man character with these voice modulators and voice changers. Dude, it is fucking comedy gold. It really is. I think I'll try to dig one up that I think you would really, I think they're all really funny, but yeah, like there's some classic ones where he does this thing where like he's like getting he like even gets into a car and like drives to the place. Like, and there's like all these sound effects, like he's pretending he's driving to Walmart to buy the Walmart gift cards or whatever, and all the rest. It's, dude, Kip Boga is awesome. So yeah, I fall down all of these Breaking Badgemen, all these different kinds of of YouTube rabbit holes, but I saw you mention Kitboga. I had to acknowledge that because he is very, very funny indeed. And not all sorts of rabbit holes, dude. I follow this one guy that just drives around like really dilapidated neighborhoods, no voiceover or anything, and just like it's just like videos of these of just fucked up places. I think his name is Charlie Bow. I watch some of these guys that do the landscaping videos, like the time-lapse landscaping videos, like where they'll mow a lawn or they'll weed whack. Like it'll be like a really fucking crazy overgrown yard and they'll just have like fixed camera angles. And then I kind of like that stuff that right now. That's good. I watch a guy in Australia, like a plumber that like clog drains or whatever. Drain Addict is his name. It's pretty interesting. And what's crazy about these things is that these often have like millions of, you know, it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, where do these people come? There's so many. YouTube is so good. I don't need anything else really.
Yeah.
And YouTube Premium is the best money I spend on subscriptions, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, easily.
Micah uses YouTube a lot, and she just raw dogs it. And when she's on, I'm like, you listen to these ads and like go through this. This is crazy. You know,
I can't do it.
No, me neither.
I cannot, because I go to my friends' places sometimes, and because we usually have like, I don't know, sometimes on Friday nights we have like get together, we go over, we smoke, or we have some edibles, and we just watch a bunch of shit. And they play music on through the YouTube app, and they got a playlist going, and then an ad comes on, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I forget that people do this, and I'm like, listen, let me control this.
Yeah,
because this is unbearable. I can't relax if I feel like I'm gonna get assaulted by like, I don't know, a fucking ShamWow again. Like I can't do it.
It is crazy. It is crazy. I mean, I appreciate people want to save money and subscribe to different things and whatever. That's totally fine. But yeah, for me, it's like I can't. When I watch football games on TV, because I have TV just for football, I literally mute the commercials. Yeah, like when it's like going to commercial break, I'm just like mute. Not ever listening to an ad. Yeah. Right. So, but to each their own. You can avoid ads by joining us on patreon.com/laststandmedia.
There you go.
Clowns. That wasn't nice. I shouldn't have said that. All right. What else is going on here? Jeff Epstein, not the New York financier. It says, hey, gentlemen. Colin, in regards to Dustin and others mocking you for your need to open and close trophy notifications, I say stand your ground. There is no harm in doing it, and it is part of what makes you who you are. I work with people who have your condition, and I always remind them, autism is not a curse. It's a different way of thinking and feeling. Keep your chin up, champ.
That's nice.
Does that make you feel better about yourself?
Well, it is Jeff Epstein, not the New York financier, telling you this. So, like, maybe.
That's true. That's true. That's one of my favorite memes of like recent years. It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy, that's like one of the funniest clips I've seen in years. Like that guy on that show. It's so good.
Yeah. Jim Downey is a legend. It's weird. I had no idea that was the same guy, but like, cause he looks so different than how I remember. Like, cause that's the guy. There's an Adam Sandler movie. I can't remember what the hell it was, but he has a scene in it where he goes, that was the dumbest, most idiotic thing I have ever heard.
That's Billy Madison.
But at no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that resembled a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. I remember that. I'm astounded that I remember all of that. But like, it's such an iconic. It's so good because it comes at this point in the movie where it's like you're meant to believe that he's given like this really like heartfelt speech, and it just does not land with anybody in the universe of the film. But it's awesome. I've never seen that done before, and it stuck out to me. But that's the same guy.
That was him. I never
podcast.
Even...
And I'm like, whoa, you look so different. But like you could tell, like when you realize when you watch those clips side by side, it's like, oh yeah, this delivery is. No, I'm talking about Jeff Epstein, the New York financier. That was on Conan's podcast. Conan is goated, man. I love Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, Conan's great. I liked his little turn in at the end of Curb as well. It was cool. It was weird. Yeah. Like he thought that Larry kept following him. You know, Larry's at his house and all this shit. It was just so funny. Yeah. Stupid.
It's good.
All right. Anthony Ragucci wrote in and said, "Afternoon, sacred lads. Colin, you've been spouting some rah-rah recently. I am not about. And last week you said you welcome to be challenged. So today I do exactly that. Lately you've been calling Dragon Age fantasy schlock, stating it's generic and not unique among other statements of the like. What the fuck? Dragon Age is probably one of the best and longer running modern fantasy video game series of recent memory. To me, there are not many purely fantasy series even out there to a point you'd be able to call Dragon Age generic. We have Witcher, Elder Scrolls, Diablo, and I think Dragon Age is pretty different from those few. Origins is the fan favorite and Baldur's Gate like in terms of gameplay. 2 is the black sheep, but still fantastic in terms of narrative, and Inquisition is the game of the year winner, much to many's dismay. You mentioned the game has orcs and goblins.
Orcs and goblins.
I'm sorry, I fell asleep. Anthony, thank you for writing in.
I don't know. I get, because I kind of feel this way too, and it's not like a holistic point of view necessarily, but like I feel like there are more flavors of every other genre than there are of fantasy, and I don't know why that is, because fantasy theoretically gives you the most leeway to have more difference, right? But I don't know. I look at like Dead Space and Mass Effect and Alien. And like as sci-fi goes, like those are all radically different, like
totally.
Like to the point where it's like insane, actually, like they're all in the same kind of genre, but they feel so different. And then I look at like, I don't know, I look at Fable and I look at Skyrim and I look at Dragon Age, and no question they're different. Obviously, like they're very different games to experience, but at the same time they feel more similar than Dead Space, Mass Effect, Halo, Alien. You know what I mean? Like these are. I don't know. There's something about it. Like there's something about the orc and the skeleton in the dungeon. You know, like it's cool. Like I like it, but like it is kind of there is something samey about it, even if they're executed in radically different ways that I just don't feel in other genres. That's kind of how I feel about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I really just that comment was 3 times longer than that, and then that's why I just put it in there to just fall asleep to it. I thought that would be funny. I'm really only busting balls. I don't care what you guys are into. I mean, it's the thief and he's got a dagger. Oh, he's gonna steal from the treasure chest. You know, like I'm obviously just being a dickhead. I mean, it's not. I play games like this all the time. You know,
right? Yeah.
But I'm just making fun of it. It's nothing to be too serious about. I am interested to see how Dragon Age does. I don't feel like there's that much hype for it, but we'll see.
Yeah,
you know, it's not very busy this fall. It's kind of slowing down a little bit. I think a lot of the games are out now. You know, except for Call of Duty, of course.
Yeah, this fall feels very front loaded in a way that feels kind of unique in the last like couple of years anyway. But I don't know. I'm curious about Dragon Age. If I have time, if the month ends and I'm done with everything that I'm playing, I might check it out just out of curiosity, especially if the sentiment around it seems to be that it's good. But I don't really mesh well with that style. Not even just the fantasy aspect, but just like the gameplay style of that game. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just outside of what I prefer out of an action game. I don't know. There's something about it. We'll see though. We'll see how it shakes up.
Yeah, I'll be interested. It's not for me. And I was never going to play it regardless. So it's not like I'm acting like there's something wrong with it now that we've seen it and it's close. I wasn't going to play it one way or the other, even if, because people really loved Inquisition and I couldn't care less about that game back in the day. And that was a slow year. 2014, actually, I was kind of the last time I remember being like, yeah, there could be maybe a few more games here. Let's get going. Yeah. All right.
Got a health potion.
Oh, the apothecary has the health potion. It's like totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right. Why aren't you opening, for Christ's sake? There.
You all right?
Yeah, the PlayStation. I'm trying to open. I'm opening the first story.
Yeah. But
it's not letting me open the PlayStation blog. Let's see.
Weird. Open for me.
Did it? Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I can't read it, but anyway. Astro Bot has new content coming. Actually, it's out as of today. So they promised I think it's 5 weeks of speedrun levels that they're going to release. Oh. And they have it dated. So the first one's out and people are already playing it. Oh, now it loaded. Let's see. What is going on over here with this? I got the front page to load. That's strange. So the Uncharted Wolf wrote into us on Patreon and said, "Hey, gents, how do you guys feel about the weekly release of Astro Bot levels? Is this something you think Sony will continue doing for other titles? Would you rather just get all the levels at once? Thanks for all you do." So I'm into it personally. We're recording this on October 17th. So like I said, this is the first of 5 levels that are going to go live. It's called the release schedule is as follows, according to the PlayStation blog post, which was finally loaded for me. So we can at least give you some context. Building Speed is the one that's up now. And then October 24th, Let It Slide. October 31st, Spring Loaded Run. November 7th, Helium Heights. November 14th, Rising Heat. As the post notes, each of these stages has 2 VIP bots in them, so for 10 cumulative new VIP bots. We know, I think that 4 of them are the Helldivers, and 1 of them is Eve from Stellar Blade. We don't know who the other 5 are. I'm sure people probably know at least one of them now, unless the ones that are in this first stage are the ones we already know about. But these are specifically levels designed to be speed run and kind of comparative with your friends list, very similar to the bundled in Astro Bot game, where there were the speedrun challenges and everyone would get the fucking notifications on a constant basis for them when the game first came out and people were first playing it. So I'm into it. They did this they actually started updating, as you might recall, the bundle in one to lead up to the Astro Bot release on PS5, the single player platformer Astro Bot. So I think this is cool because it's free. So how can you really complain about it? You know, I get more annoyed about really meaty paid expansions that are just way past the date in which the games come out. I feel like the game is still relatively new. People are going to get it for Christmas and shit like that. So I'm totally down for it. Are you going to check these out?
Yeah. I'll probably wait till they're all out, though, to be honest. I just have a lot of stuff that I'm in the middle of playing right now and not a lot of room to go back. And if I feel like I want to go back to Astro Bot, I want like a hefty chunk of content to go back to. So I'll probably like wait for them to stack. But I kind of dig what they're doing here. I think it's cool. I think it's cool for the community. If that's like the main game that you're playing, I think it's kind of a dope way to keep people engaged. So yeah, this is cool. I love Astro Bot. I think it's fantastic. It's one of the few games that I platinumed. It's got my seal of approval in that sense. So like, yeah, I love it. Any excuse that I have to go back to it is one that I'll happily take. But I'm playing a lot right now, so I'll just wait. Let them stack, you know.
If you are impatient for the new stages, by the way, they will release every Thursday, October 17th. So that's today when we're recording, to November 14th at 6 a.m. Pacific time and 10 p.m. Japanese time. So if you're waiting to kind of download them, get them there, get those trophies going and all the rest and get on the leaderboards. I'm excited to check out this first one. Did I delete Astro Bot I have a tradition of just deleting games immediately when I platinum. It feels good. So I think I've deleted it and I have to probably re-download it, but that's not a big deal. Yeah.
I don't think it's that big of a download either. So
no, it's fine. And I'll check that out. Maybe I'll even do that after we're done recording. Oh, you know what? I should be keeping footnotes. So that was Astro Bot. This is good radio. Dustin, come back. I need a producer.
Dustin, come back.
Do you think he got us a present?
From Japan, probably you. I don't know what he would get me from Japan. You know what I mean?
A waifu. Yeah,
a waifu.
He did reach out to me a couple times with pictures of various Mega Man merch that he saw, and I was curious if I wanted it, but I actually had everything that he had seen.
Dude, a friend of mine. I don't know where the hell. I have a friend. I don't know where he's traveling right now. I don't know where the hell he is. But he sent me a picture of this like original like sealed copy of Combat Evolved that he saw at like an auction or something for like $5,000. I was like, what the fuck is that? Is that really that valuable?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like the original Halo CE? That's insane. I feel like that can't be. You know what I mean? Like that feels like way. I mean, I never owned the original Combat Evolved on disc, but like that seems insane. Personally, I did, but I haven't. It's at Dagan's, but I think it might be a reprint. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if they had a platinum hits. Like yeah, I think hits I bought it in 2003. So yeah, that was definitely a reprint. Though. Yeah, so I think it was a reprint at that point. All right. Next up is news from Deadline. So Deadline.com last week reported, as we noted, that Until Dawn, the film rendition in some sense of whatever of the Until Dawn Sony IP,
had finished filming, and now we have a release date already for the film as it enters post-production. Deadline reports that it will enter theaters on April 25th, 2025. There are still no details about this. So on Sacred Symbols Plus, I did a deep dive with Ian from 616 Entertainment about Until Dawn remake, and we talked about it for a great deal of time. And we talked a little bit about the film, but we couldn't find any information about the film. Like, it's unclear to me what it even is about. Is it really just what happened in the game? Because that seems kind of weak, because the game is special not for its story, but because it's playable.
Right.
On the other hand, it's really vital to note, and as many people have noted, and as we've noted on the show in the past, Chris, that Sony is kind of like 4 for 4 so far with PlayStation productions and renditions, with nothing less than what I would say is good, going all the way up to excellent. So I would say good would be Twisted Metal, Gran Turismo, Uncharted. I think those are all good. And then I think The Last of Us is exceptional. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, especially because I don't know shit about horror films really, but the people involved in this are apparently very serious people in that space that have made a lot of money. So are you interested in seeing this? I will go to the theater and see this April 25th. I will do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I think it does feel like one of those things where, like, I feel like I'll probably wait to see like what the trailers suggest. Because I think I would be more interested in it if it's, I don't know. I feel like if it's just the game again, I don't know if I'm necessarily that interested, but I guess I'll probably check it out of sheer curiosity. I love horror movies, so like I'll see. I'm kind of where you're at though, like where it's what makes that experience unique at all is the fact that it is a video game. Like there's nothing really about it that is particularly unique from like a pure. Like I can't imagine watching a movie version of Until Dawn and being like, "Wow," you know what I mean? I feel like I would be like, that's serviceable.
Yeah, it's like multiple movies really long, and it's quite detailed and strange. And I do wonder what parts of it they're going to take advantage of and go from there. I don't know. We'll find out. I imagine it is going to be a rendition of the story from the original, which will be interesting. All different actors, obviously. Some people that I don't know any of these names, like Ella Rubin, Michael Cimino, Ji Young Yu. I guess these are younger people, but Peter Stormare is in it, reprising his role as Dr. Hill. That's going to get us into our next piece of news. But as far as this, just to kind of underline, I'm not going to go see it out of sheer interest in the movie. It's like, that's content for Sacred Symbols Plus for sure. Like, we'll definitely do a Sacred Symbols Plus episode on Until Dawn for anyone that wants to go see it in our company. They're welcome to. And then we'll probably convene and discuss it. So April 25th, 2025 for that film. But the other Until Dawn piece of news is, I think, even more interesting. And it's that Peter Stormare, so the actor that I was just mentioning, who played Dr. Hill in Until Dawn and reprises his role. He's the only actor from Until Dawn that reprises his role in the film version of the game. And I won't get too much into who he is because it's a little bit spoilerish, but he apparently on TikTok posted, I guess, I don't know if you clicked on this here. This comes from Until Dawn News on various social media feeds. He basically posted like a story or whatever that is of the Blackwood Post, the fictional newspaper from Blackwood in Alberta, where the game takes place. And it says, Until Dawn sequel confirmed with the remake, in quotes, and as the headline. And I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't want to spoil it, but they do make changes at the end of the game to indicate that they are going to do a sequel in some sense. Now, it could be an expansion or something. I don't know that's going to be a full-fledged thing, but it seems like it will be. And they brought one of the major actors back from it to do it. And so yeah, what do you think? And Until Dawn 2, so this is what makes it unlikely to me, or why I think this is kind of weird, is just they kind of pooped out the original remake and never said anything about it. Now, I went on PlayStation Blog today to kind of make sure all the news was up to date, and they did post something about the soundtrack from Until Dawn, but they have not acknowledged like the game's release. They had 3 PlayStation Blog posts leading up to its release, announcing it, giving you some information, and then dating it, I think. But no, like, Until Dawn is out now. Like, they don't want people to know about it. It doesn't seem like anyone's really playing it. Anecdotally, on PSN profiles, it's dead. So you're going to do a sequel? Now, I know the IP, they want to harvest the IP. and the movie maybe will make it more relevant, and then maybe people will discover the game and the remake from the movie, and maybe that's the idea. I'm sure there's some sort of circuitous knowledge or some circuitous logic there, but what do you think about this? An Until Dawn 2?
It feels a bit late to do this, but if they feel like they've got something, I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea of something if they have something worth doing. You know what I mean? Sometimes you do something and it's great, and then people are like, oh, we want something new immediately, but maybe the material's not there, or, can't necessarily force that stuff. And maybe they've been ruminating on it for a while, or maybe an idea struck out of nowhere and be like, hey, I have an idea for, an Until Dawn 2. And maybe it's just such a good idea that they were like, yeah, let's do it. I know this is a dormant kind of franchise, so like maybe, I don't know. You can kind of look at it one of two ways. You can either look at this as like you're too late on capitalizing on something that was once kind of like a big deal in the space, or you can look at it as kind of like a somewhat of a noble thing where it's just like, hey, we didn't want to do anything until we had a good idea, and now's the time. So like, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It's unfortunate that the remake is kind of a subpar quality in comparison to the original from a lot of people's accounts, or at least like what I've seen. The temperature read has been online about the remake. It's not necessarily garnering the most praise, so that's a little unfortunate. But I don't know, if they've got a good idea, let them do it. Let's see what they got. I guess I'm open to it.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. The next beat will probably be the movie, and then maybe we'll hear more about the game. I don't know. Or maybe they'll announce it sooner. I have no idea. It just seems it seems so incongruent and weird to be like, we're going to make a sequel to a game that we didn't even care to market. It's like, okay.
Yeah. It's weird. Do you think we'll hear about it at like the Game Awards or something? Or
maybe. I mean, that would be it doesn't seem like Sony's going to do showcase style things anymore, or at least not maybe until they have a new console or something to show. And so you have to find places to put these, and I guess maybe State of Play would be one of them. And then that's the only opportunity, is that, and then like the Gamescom show and a few other opportunities, but nothing major stands out. And I don't know that it really matters where they announce it anymore either. I don't think they even care. So
yeah, fair.
Okay, let's see what's the next. Oh, so Helldivers. Sorry, these timestamps are gonna be so fucked up. I'm sorry. Helldivers 2. I thought this was interesting. Over on Steam, they published a few things. So first of all, there's a brand new patch, 1.001.104, that brings a bunch of new balancing things and makes the game, I guess, continues to make the game more fun, the game less spongy, and all of the rest. A lot of fixes. You guys can go read the notes. But the bigger thing I wanted to read about or talk about here was what I read on Steam from Mikhail E., the game's director, in which he wrote a post called 60-Day Timeline Conclusion Update, an overview of the last update and our 60-day commitment to buff and balance Helldivers 2. And they write in part, fellow Helldivers, as we wrap up our 60-day community commitment, I want to take a moment to reflect on the journey we've taken together. Your feedback regarding the Escalation of Freedom update was both insightful and vital to our improvement process. We listened, we learned, and we took action. Key developments. There's been a comprehensive balancing pass on over 70 weapons and stratagems, reworking armor penetration and adjusting enemy armor and health values. Several enemies have been overhauled to ensure that they present a challenge while feeling rewarding to defeat. Notable challenges including reducing armor values for heavy enemies like Hulks, Chargers, Impalers, and Bile Titans, along with limiting the rocket fire from Devastators and gunships. And we took a deep dive into the core systems like enemy spawning as well as targeting and vision for the automatons. And then there's performance updates as well, better UI and all the rest. I think the big question here that I have, and I wonder your perspective, especially as someone who is much more involved in multiplayer gaming than I ever will be, is this game fixed now from your perspective? And is it just, I don't like the term too little too late. I think people have been in some way rough on Helldivers because it was so meteorically popular. It was never going to stay that way. But at the same time, it definitely lost a lot of the goodwill, especially it seems from the PC audience over time. Do you think that this would make things better?
I mean, it's hard to say without getting your hands on this, like to actually see like what the changes have been. But I do think it's good that they're listening. I do think it's good that they seem to have like reverted a lot of the changes that they've gone down. And I don't know, like you said, this game was so meteorically popular that there was no real shot of it maintaining it. Like, no game of any real popularity level maintains that first day or like that crazy boost the entire time. Like, even really seminal games like Call of Duty 4 and like Halo 3 back in the day, which were seen as like really pinnacle games, you know, they had a day one, week one, you know, peak and never ever got anywhere close to that, even if they were like, you know, really, really popular and really, really beloved. So I think it's kind of par for the course and somewhat natural for games like this to fall off in some way. But looking at some of the changes, I mean, I think it's cool. I think this is like the right path to go down. I can't really fault any of these changes. Like, the issue really is whether or not the changes matter, right? Because a lot of people, whether unfairly or fairly or whatever, like, you know, you kind of have an experience with a game, and if it ticks you off, there's so many other things to go to now. You know, it's a really competitive marketplace. People are always kind of getting bored and really excited to go move on to the next thing. So it really just depends on the charitability of the audience and whether or not they're willing to come back and give it another shot if they were in fact burned by a lot of the changes that were made prior to this update. And I think Helldivers still has a lot of goodwill. I think there's a vibe and like a feeling around Helldivers where, like, even though they've like overbalanced the thing, and even though they've like kind of like really fucked with it, I still feel like the perception of Helldivers is that people really fuck with it. It's just there's so much else to play. So I think it's the right thing. I think it'll definitely help the community. I think it'll help the player base, but I don't know if they're gonna get a lot of people back necessarily. I'll probably check it out, you know, at some point in the future, like when I have time. But me personally, I feel like my winter and my fall are so loaded with things, and I don't know if I'll even find time to check it out really. But I would like to. I really like Helldivers. I feel like it's a game that I feel like it's really easy to come back to every once in a while, kind of get a couple rounds in and be satisfied, and then not check it out for another couple months and come back. It's like a rotational game for me.
I'm interested. So I actually, it's funny. The timing's funny just because I actually finally deleted Helldivers off my console in my living room a few weeks ago. I don't ever need space. I very rarely ever run out of space. I have more than enough space on my hard drive personally. But I look at that cross media bar, like the list of games you see, as this is kind of like not my to-do list, but these are the available kind of items for you right now. And right. Or things that should be on your mind. So right now mine is like Metaphor, Silent Hill 2, Until Dawn remake, Kunitsugami, Hi-Fi Rush is on there, and a few others that are Castlevania Dominus and a few other things. And Helldivers was just constantly in there, but bumped to the very end. And I'm like, I'm not going to play this anytime soon. So but maybe I should jump into it, because I'll tell you, that game for 40 or 50 hours really did capture me. In some ways, time goes fast, but in some way, time goes slow, because I'm like, man, that was earlier this year that I was just like really addicted to this game, actually.
But doesn't it feel like years ago or something? Like, it's weird, right?
It is weird. Yeah, I don't know what that's all about, but I did enjoy it, and then I didn't get tired of it for the reason, or a lot of other people did, because I think people did feel like the game was getting broken over time in the wrong direction. Especially, I was just like, this is me with any game. I'm like, I don't really want to play this anymore. You know, it's fun. It's really, really fun. It's really, really well made, but I don't want to play anything for 100 or 150 hours, with rare exception. Like a Civilization game or something is something I want to play for that long, but not like this. No. So I was just bored after a while. It's not the game's fault. You can only do so much. It's very robust. By the way, I barely did the automaton shit at all, because I found them so hard to fight. I was like basically just fighting the bugs for 95% of my time with the game. Hard. So I also limited myself to some of the content, you know, or from some of the content.
I will say that the little thing here about updating the cones of vision for the automatons, I think is like really exciting, because like that was one of the most, I have a vivid memory of like an automaton mission where like we really tried to strategize, and like I had a group of my friends, and we were like, all right, listen, we're going to approach this camp. There's like these many people. We all have precision weapons. I'll crouch in the grass, get this guy. you go on the east side, get this guy, and we'll synchronize our shot. We'll go 3, 2, 1, and on 0 we'll fire, and then they can't get an alarm out. And it was like one of the most satisfying. It's super satisfying, but like I love the stealth aspect of the automatons. But it was a little bit wonky because sometimes they could see you through foliage that like didn't really make sense. So that's really exciting to me. Like it's like a stealth player who is really like underserved by the modern industry. It's like really having that option available, even if it was like only slight, was cool and riveting and exciting. And I'm into it. I'm into it. Helldivers is great, but like you can only. My favorite games I get bored of, you know, like you can't possibly, like how many times can you watch the same movie over and over again in a row before you're like, all right, let's watch something else, you know, it's just normal. So
now I don't want to make Helldivers. I'm not even trying to make Helldivers what it isn't. I'm not trying to say this is what they should have done, but just as an example, it's like if Helldivers took place in the context of a story, then 50 hours of gameplay recommends 60 or 65 hours of total time with the game, and you have a lot of context and cutscenes and all that, and that might really be very compelling. But that's not what the game is. So like when you're just doing it over and over again and you have your own meta story, and I think one of the things that they made a mistake with, to be perfectly honest with you, is not leaning into the meta. Like people didn't really think they were fascists. People didn't really think they were these evil neo-Nazi space marines or whatever. They were just playing into the meta of it. And
right, yeah.
I feel like they didn't embrace that enough in some sense, because I think that they were thinking people were getting the wrong idea or whatever, or the wrong kind of people. But I'm like, no, you're not. From my perspective, I'm like, you're not getting it. It was just supposed to be fun. You know?
Yeah, it's funny. It's look, this is like, look, within the context of the lore or whatever, like it is an authoritarian thing. So it's like, it's kind of, I don't know, it's funny. Like, who cares? Like, yeah, rah, rah, you know, super Earth. Like everybody understands that it's like dumb, like it's fun. It's supposed to be that way. Yeah, I agree. They should have leaned more heavily into it. Would have been a lot funnier.
They really did mismanage the game. Like you can tell that Sony, as a publisher and a steward, has no idea what it's doing, just because it seemed to be totally unequipped to deal with the popularity of the game, to deal with the meta of the game, to deal with managing what makes the game fun and leaning into it. Like not only did they make the wrong decision, in a lot of ways they made the antithetical decision. It's like, no, we're not going to lean into the meta. We're going to make fun of it. We're not going to make the game. We're not going to make the game more playable. We're going to make it less playable. You know, like that. It's like, why are you doing these things? It's strange. And that is where Sony's lack of expertise in this space. Like no one was there to say like, guys, you're not seeing it right. You're not approaching this properly. They really did. It's a testament to how good the game is that they hamstrung themselves like they did and really fucked around with it and still got some people to come back. And I think, ironically, a major reason for that is because it is a paid game. Like people want to extract more value out of it if they can. They're willing to actually give it a second look. There's something ironic and strange about that, but I think that there is, or unintuitive, I should say, but I think that is nonetheless true. Anything else to say? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Helldivers. Is definitely going to be a game that I come back to like consistently for a while. Like there'll be long waits in between, but I still have friends who will message me on occasion. Like I think I got a message like a week ago from a friend of mine that was like, "Hey, you want to jump on Helldivers?" I'm like, no, I'm working on a bunch of stuff, but it's got some sticking power, man, because it is just fun. It is just like pure, like old school. And by the way, there's a lot of old school fun. Old school type games kind of coming out now that are just like really like refreshing to play. Not even just in the remake space, although that definitely is part of it. But yeah, people just like stuff that's fun and isn't overwrought and overbalanced and, you know, that overstays its welcome. People like fun, simple stuff that's just really strong from a gameplay perspective. And Helldivers is definitely one of those. And it stands really uniquely in the multiplayer space still as a game that's so cooperatively driven with no PvP that I think it's always going to be kind of in the zeitgeist in some way, where people are always going to be like, yeah, I want to play a multiplayer game, but I don't want to sweat. And there's a lot of sweaty games now. Like I'm 30. Like I can't play Call of Duty or like even Halo the way I used to. Like I can't do it. Like it's over and it's fine, but I still like multiplayer stuff. So like,
imagine how decrepit you're going to be when you're my age.
Oh God.
Hang on for dear life, my friend.
I'll try.
All right. This was an unusual announcement. This annoyed people, I think, because they want Sony to announce anything else, but they announced this instead, and there are definitely people excited about it. Sony has announced a PlayStation Concert World Tour for 2025 and 2026. Quote, the global concert series kicks off in Europe, featuring music from God of War, The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, and Horizon. And they write in part, quote, whether you realize it or not, music is connected to some of our strongest gaming memories. Whether it's the rousing choir of the God of War games or the delicate flutes of Ghost of Tsushima, the PlayStation soundscape has created some of the most emotional moments I've experienced in entertainment, and so on and so forth. So they say PlayStation the Concert transports fans into the epic worlds of God of War, The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, and Horizon franchises, amongst many others that reflect our 30 years of making games that have not only captivated players, but are celebrated for their breathtaking and immersive soundtracks. Dates that have been announced for 2025 are all European dates so far. They apparently are going to announce American dates at some point, and it launches April 19th in Dublin in Ireland. And Ruffam wrote in, as a few people did, and said, hello, Chris and Colin. It was revealed that PlayStation will be doing a World Tour concert series starting in April of next year and goes into 2026. As of this writing, they only announced European cities so far, but they will disclose locations in the US soon. Will you consider attending a show if it comes to your city? Thank you for the podcast. It was awesome seeing you guys live in San Diego, and I appreciate you signing my PlayStation Classic. Ruffam, thank you for writing in and for being at the show. I have no interest in this personally. Are you going to check this out if it comes to... I'm sure it'll be somewhere in Southern California, but
yeah.
Any interest?
If I were to go to something like this, I feel like I would rather go to something like Video Games Live. You know what I mean? Where it's a little bit more industry wide and more... It has more to pull from. Like, quite frankly... Look, I like some of the soundtracks that come out of, Sony first party, like for sure, but I don't know if I want to sit there and listen to like, I don't know, it just feels too narrow of a scope for me to go and see in person. Like, it would be cool to sit there and listen to like, it would be cool to go to a show like that and be like, okay, here's Zelda, and like, here's, Halo, and then here's like Uncharted, and then here's like, the entire industry. Is represented in some way, because there's like a lot of flavor that you can get to. But like, I even just looking at like the poster for this, it's like music from The Last of Us, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, and Horizon. And it's like, oh, so it's gonna be like depressing, or like I don't know. It doesn't feel, it doesn't really command my attention in the way that like a more well-rounded kind of video game oriented concert would go. But it is a cool idea. Like, I think. And look, if they've got fucking, what's his name, Soichi Terada, the guy who the DJ who produced the Ape Escape soundtrack, if he shows up and does like weird Ape Escape stuff, that'd be kind of cool. But like,
he opens.
He opens. That'd be a jarring start to a show like this. But maybe, I don't know. I'd have to see like what it is. I'm leaning towards no though, because it just seems like a bit dramatic heavy, Like, I want a more well-rounded set list if I'm going to go to a thing like this. And I don't know if PlayStation really has that. I don't know if PlayStation has musical flexibility in that realm quite yet, or at least right now. Maybe they'll have some classic pulls like Loco Roco, and maybe Astro Bot might be there too. So there might be like there might be more light stuff, but I don't know. I'm more partial to industry-wide celebrations when it comes to concerts like this. Like, I actually really wanted to go to Video Games Live, and I just kind of never went. But yeah,
I'll just say, there's some memorable songs, I guess, from these games, but generally speaking, I don't think of their soundtracks at all when I think about why I like them. So it's not. I love music. Obviously, we were just talking about music endlessly earlier in the show, but with games, it is a compliment, and it's great when music is good in a game and it really fits the immersion or the action or whatever that you're doing. But I find that only sticks out to me in certain circumstances now. Like Final Fantasy 16 is a really good example where I was like, this is fucking sick. But most games, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm into this for the world. I'm into this for the characters. I'm into this for the story and the music. So I can't even, it's like Ghost of Tsushima. I know what Ghost of Tsushima music sounds like conceptually, but I don't know one song from Ghost of Tsushima. I don't.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's too, like the music in modern, and to be fair, this is true of like most modern video games, is that it's kind of designed to elevate the mood of whatever's on screen, which I think is like a perfectly valid approach. But like in the older in like the 360 days and before, I feel like music soundtrack, or 360 was when it really started to become a little bit more like complimentary and more mood related. But I think older games just had stronger melodies because I think they had to. And they stood on their own more as so. Like I listen to the Ape Escape soundtrack still. I listen to the Halo soundtrack still. I listen to a lot of older video game soundtracks. Doom, I guess 2016 was like a big one. Like, I would go to a Doom 2016 show easily. That would be like,
yeah, that would be sick. They did something like that at VGA, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the reasons I was like, damn, that would have been cool. But yeah, I'm kind of with you where it's just too I don't know the name. I don't know a single track from God of War, The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, or Horizon. In fact, the only one that sticks out to me really is the God of War, like, whoa, you know? But like, I don't need to hear that live.
The Last of Us has that guitar, like that acoustic song that's like really famous.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's so I don't know. Yeah. Well,
cool,
to each their own. I'm not going to go to it, but I'm sure it's going to do great. And it's cool to see Sony kind of get out there. I think this is not only a way to make some money, I'm sure, but it's a nice way to kind of continue to legitimize your own products and make them bigger than games. And I think that's something they're really obsessed with, whether it's film and TV or whether it's, a concert series. They want to just extract as much value from these IP as possible. And so expect more of this sort of thing. I think it's a different era now, but you see things like this and you're like, damn, you're doing kind of a road show, which is cool. You're getting kind of closer maybe to bringing something like a PlayStation experience back or something, but I don't think that's ever going to happen because I just don't think they're that kind of company anymore. This, I think, is more illustrative of what they've become, which is a more serious entertainment company as opposed to a toy company or whatever.
Right.
All right. This is an interesting one because I noticed this myself when I was on PSN just a couple of days ago. So Dino Crisis recently came out. Of course, this is a Capcom survival horror series that began on PS1 back in 1999 when the original came out. And people were excited because this particular game, Dino Crisis, was going to come to PlayStation Classics. And so the indication with this was that it was going to be a game that would be available both at PlayStation Plus Premium tier, the highest tier of PlayStation Plus available a la carte for whatever cost Capcom wanted to sell it for. But it's actually not the case. It is only, I think, the second game in the entire Classics catalog in which you have to have PlayStation Plus Premium to play. And you can't buy it a la carte. Resident Evil Director's Cut, according to PlayStationLifestyle.net, which brought this story to people's attention, is the only other game, another Capcom published game. So it's very strange. And it also has no trophies, which is fine. I mean, if that's not a big deal to a lot of people, but just a warning, if you were looking forward to playing Dino Crisis, you cannot, at least at the time we're recording, buy it a la carte. And I don't think that is a mistake. I think it is just part of the premium catalog. So there's a lot of, actually, the classic games are stacking up that I really want to play. There's a substantial amount of them now, and Dino Crisis was definitely going to join that list, but I'm not going to subscribe to PlayStation Plus Premium. There's just no way I'm doing that. So, so I guess I'll have to wait until or when or if it comes, but a fair warning about that in case anyone's curious. Did you play Dino Crisis back in the day? Were you a fan?
No, I learned about this game so late. For some reason, I just never crossed paths with this game, I think. And if I did, it was like so brief that it might as well not count. But I've always been curious about it. I've heard a lot about it over the years. And I specifically remember hearing a lot about it around the time that, what's that game? Exoprimal was kind of shown.
Yeah, because it's kind of like it's like a similar vibe. Yeah.
It's very Dino Crisis coded. Or I remember everybody thought that it was until the name came up. So I'm curious about it, but like this is not. I don't have like a strong history with this game or anything, so I'm kind of leaning towards. I don't know. I don't like that certain games are just locked like this. I think it would be a lot better if they just kind of. A la carte is just better. Like I don't like this style of distribution, personally.
Yeah, I wonder what's in it for Capcom and what's in it for Sony. It's like Dino Crisis. That's not a pull. Like just either get people at that catalog level or just sell it. It doesn't make any sense. But I bear in mind that it could be just a listing mistake, but I think it would have been fixed by now, and it does fit with what Resident Evil Director's Cut is locked behind as well. So anyway, Dino Crisis, not as available as you would have thought. And that's disappointing to some, which is, I understand. Okay. This next piece of news is for you, Chris. There's not much to say about it, but Mike Straw over at Insider Gaming writes, a brief update on Splinter Cell Remake, which was announced back in 2021 at Ubisoft Toronto. And he writes, quote, the Splinter Cell Remake is making progress at Ubisoft despite rumors that the game has been quietly canceled. Insider Gaming has learned that the game is being developed under the codename North. In addition to the codename, sources have confirmed that the game is being built in the Snowdrop engine. Previous Splinter Cell games used Unreal Engine 2 and 2.5. Snowdrop has been used to develop games like Tom Clancy's The Division 2, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and Star Wars Outlaws. First announced in December of 2021, the Splinter Cell remake is being led by Ubisoft Toronto. The studio seemed to tease information on the game coming soon. However, that is yet to happen. So nothing crazy, but some confirmation for you from a reliable source that the game is still coming. How do you feel? Yeah.
What the hell, man? Like, I don't know. It's been so fucking long at this point. I'll believe it when I see it. You know, I'll believe it when it's got a release date and I've seen a hefty amount of it and I know for sure it's coming. But for right now, I've heard this before. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's happening, and don't worry, it's not canceled. It's coming. Ooh, it might come 2026, but we don't want to be held to that. Really? You don't want to be held to 2026? Okay. Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, this is not. You cannot convince me that this is happening. We've been talking about this since the show. Since this show started, and so like I'm just beyond care at this point. It's kind of like I mean, we didn't talk about it on this show. I talked about it on Defining Duke, but it's kind of like the Halo thing. It's like we're gonna Halo's coming on Unreal, and now it'll be good. It's like, okay, sure, I'll believe it when I see it. You got to show me, man. Like, otherwise, it's just like you're just telling me the same shit that you told me for years. I love Splinter Cell. I love stealth games in general. I feel like it's a horrifically underserved market right now. I get that it's not gonna like rake in the big bucks like a Fortnite or a live service or whatever, but some of the best gameplay experiences that I've ever had have been from stealth games. I think about Dishonored. I think about Splinter Cell multiplayer a lot. I think about even recently like Hitman. Thank God for Hitman. But it's just. I've been hearing about the Splinter Cell remake for so damn long. And Ubisoft, as we mentioned in previous episodes, and I think even in entire dedicated conversations, is just so up in the air right now and they just seem so confused and all over the place that I don't know, man. I can't hold in any real certainty or with any degree of genuine confidence that I'm going to see this game until I see it running. I see them commit to a release date. And even then, I'm probably going to still be skeptical until it comes out. Like, I don't know. I think about Beyond Good and Evil a lot. I think about how long Skull and Bones was in development for. Granted, that was like, you know, a government contract and a bunch of weird stuff going on with that game. But, you know, and then I see that it's running on the same engine that Star Wars Outlaws is running on, which had notoriously bad stealth. And I'm like, ooh. I mean, I think they could probably. I mean, if the game is built around it, surely, like, you know, I'm not saying like it'll play exactly like Star Wars Outlaws or that the stealth is going to be the same and it's going to be fucked, but I'm not necessarily filled with confidence at this idea. So I'll wait till I see it. Cool. I just feel abused at this point.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I wanted to bring it up just for you. Splinter Cell, of course, came to Xbox back in 2002, PS2 the following year. And is a famous stealth game from Ubisoft Montreal at the time. But Ubisoft Toronto is apparently leading that one up. So we'll have to wait and see. Okay. Bloomberg wrote an interesting article. I wanted to bring this up, though, because of something that's buried in it, which I thought was fascinating and that I wanted to talk about more. So the story is entitled, and it's from Bloomberg, Japan. Bandai Namco cuts jobs, culls titles as game sector woes deepen. And it says Bandai Namco Holdings is cutting its workforce after canceling several titles in the latest sign that rising costs and plateauing demand are depressing the gaming industry's bottom lines. The Tokyo-based company is taking a traditionally Japanese approach to reducing staff by sending workers to rooms where they are given nothing to do, putting pressure on them to leave voluntarily, according to people familiar with the matter. Since April, affiliate Bandai Namco Studios, Inc. has moved about 200 of its roughly 1,300 employees to such rooms, and nearly 100 have resigned, said the people, asking not to be named, discussing private information. More are expected to leave in the coming months, they said. Such Oidashi Beya, or expulsion rooms, are sometimes used by Japanese corporations in a country with some of the world's strictest labor protection laws. Employees are typically given no work-related tasks, but are left with the knowledge that their performance will give managers ammunition to cut severance when they do leave. Many employees use their time in such rooms to look for other jobs. Now, I think I saw a statement that Bandai Namco released saying that they don't do this. I couldn't find it though, so maybe I'm just imagining that. But I did find this interesting piece from Japanese Intercultural Consulting about Oidashi Beya, Japanese Purgatory, it says. And here's what he wrote in part. And this is like a consultancy that kind of tells people how to do business in Japan. So this is kind of their look at it. In the United States, the concept of at-will employment means that employees can quit their jobs whenever they would like, and that companies can fire employees whenever they would like. In a sense, it's the opposite of Japan's lifetime employment custom. As any American employee who has experienced being fired can attest, it's certainly not pleasant and can lead to depression and many other problems. And indeed, in the US, there are many people who have lost their jobs and cannot find new ones and become the long-term unemployed. But the ability to hire and fire as needed is one of the underpinnings of the US economy's flexibility and is something that companies count on in order to remain competitive. In contrast, Japanese companies are barred both by societal and legal constraints that make it very difficult to fire employees. Historically, that led to the phenomenon of Madogiwazoku, literally the tribe that sits by the windows. We've talked about this. This is the window-facing job.
Yeah.
Employees whose services are no longer needed, but that the company could not or did not want to fire, would be given a pleasant spot by the window to while away working hours by reading the newspaper. However, as the Japanese economy has had to deal with years upon years of recession and the increasingly stiff winds of global competition, many Japanese companies are finding themselves with more redundant staff than could fit at the window seats. This is particularly true for many companies in Japan's electronics industry, which is having a lot of difficulties these days and feels the need to shed many employees who were hired during the boom years. In response, many Japanese firms have adopted early retirement programs, which are a staple in the US as well, for quickly trimming the employee ranks. However, not everyone who is offered early retirement chooses to take it. So in recent years, many Japanese companies have been turning to another method, the Oidashi Beya, literally the banishment room or the expulsion room. This is, in a sense, the window-facing job on steroids. Employees are typically placed in a room, often windowless, where they have nothing to do. In many cases, their business cards are taken away, and they are forced to do menial, mind-numbing tasks or giving nothing to do at all. Being excluded from the mainstream is particularly painful for those who have dedicated themselves to the company for many years, especially in the context of Japanese culture, where ostracism from the group is a traditional and strong form of punishment. The idea is that they are stripped of their status, ties with colleagues, and interesting work. The employees who are placed there will eventually quit out of shame and sheer boredom. Indeed, many do. And since such resignation is voluntary, the company is not subject to the usual legal responsibilities that it would have in the case of a layoff. So it's kind of strange, isn't it? It's super passive aggressive. Holy Christ. It's the most passive aggressive thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's a bit rough. Oh man,
I'm going to give you a window-facing job. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I do it. I am technically facing Windows.
Yeah,
this entire time.
Yeah, Microsoft Windows-facing job.
Yeah,
that's dark stuff, in my opinion. The window-facing job is a backhanded compliment because they're like, we don't want to fire you, we don't want you to leave or whatever, but we have nothing for you to do. And you've been really loyal, so we're just going to let you dick off. But this, just torturing people to leave. It's like, just fire them for Christ's sake.
Yeah, that
or lay them off. What is the big deal? It's obviously a horrible thing, but what a cowardly thing. If this is what is necessary, then you have to do what you have to do. It's so God, man. Japanese culture is so interesting because it's so stymied in a lot of ways. It's fascinating in a lot of ways, but it's so under the surface and symbolic.
I mean, I do think it's in some ways like a bit of a window into the future. I do think, I don't know, man. We are going to get to a point. I don't necessarily, not to get political necessarily, but I do think there's going to be a point in the future, probably within my lifetime, where a lot of work can be done by either an algorithm or like a fucking robot. And what's going to happen when most of the people can work, but there's just nothing to do? I feel like that's going to be a situation that I'm probably going to see, So in some ways, do you pay people to just kind of do nothing just so they can have disposable income to keep, you know what I mean? What do you, that's going to be a really fascinating problem to address. And in some ways, I feel like this might actually be like a somewhat of a window into the future where it's just like, yeah, well, here's your salary so you can contribute to the economy. Because what the fuck are you going to do? You know?
Maybe we should send Dustin to the
Oidashi
Beya. Oidashi Beya.
Maybe. You almost killed me there.
Oidashi Beya. Oidashi Beya. Oidashi Beya. Because it's Oidashi Beya. Oidashi Beya.
I'm not even gonna attempt.
I sound like I'm having a stroke because I just keep saying it over and over again. All right. Final piece of small news here. Comes by way of the official PlayStation blog. This actually happened when we were recording last week and I didn't see it, but it is worth noting. Aspyr is releasing Tomb Raider 4 through 6 Remastered on February 14th, 2025. They'll be available on both PlayStation and PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, that day. These are Resident Evil, Tomb Raider 4, 5, and 6 are the following. Tomb Raider, The Last Revelation, which came out in 1999 on PlayStation, Dreamcast the next year. And then Tomb Raider Chronicles, which came out on PlayStation 1 in 2000 and then came to Dreamcast at the same time. And The Angel of Darkness, which was a 2003 PlayStation 2 game that I don't think was very well received, but I could be wrong about that. All three of them come from the original developer Core Design before the series moves on to other developers. So I was trying to think on PS3 there was a Tomb Raider collection, and it must have been these games, or at least a couple of them. Platinumed a couple of them, I think, but I really don't remember like which ones were which. So all the Tomb Raider games blur together for me. I'm not really particularly interested in them, to be perfectly honest with you, but I saw a lot of people saying two things: that they were excited about this one, but two, that Aspyr did a pretty nice job with that last Tomb Raider collection. And so people believe that they will do a good job with this one too. And I was like, okay, cool. So you'll get all the Core Design Tomb Raider games out there now for people to enjoy. Are you going to check this out?
I don't know. I got the first collection and I liked it. I thought they did a really, really good job updating it. It's very much in the spirit of and I guess they're also doing Legacy of Kain as well, but it's very much in that style of like they're keeping it very PlayStation 1 coded while giving it like a bit of a new coat of paint, but not one that like disguises it as like a modern game. Like I think that's like a nice middle ground of like a remake to me, where it's like, oh, I like that. You know, it kind of respects the art of the original game, but kind of moves it forward. I think it's really important for preservation purposes, you know, like to get these games playable on hardware that at this moment in time we believe to be future-proof, that will have access to these theoretically in perpetuity through all generations of PlayStation going forward. So I think it's just a good move on that front. But I tried my best to get through like the first game, and there's something about those old controls that like I can get used to them, and I liked it, but it didn't carry me through the entire game, you know. Granted, that might have been because I had other stuff to play or whatever, but and those are games that I kind of grew up with. And these ones I don't really have much experience with. I think I played a little bit of Tomb Raider Chronicles, maybe, I think. No, I think it was Tomb Raider Anniversary that I played, so that's not even in this. So like I don't know. I'll probably skip this one just because I don't really have any history with this particular line of Tomb Raider games, like I did with the first three. But I'm glad to see it being made, and I'm glad to see Aspyr continuing to bring these games forward. I think they're like a really, really good port studio. Like they seem to be doing like a really, really good job bringing things forward. I'm really happy with how Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver looks. So I hope they keep doing it.
Yeah, I'm looking up their most recent ports. Yeah, so yeah, Legacy of Kain, the Battlefront games, KOTOR. They did a bunch of the Star Wars stuff that's been coming out over the last few years. Episode 1 Racer, Jedi Academy, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, they are doing a nice job. Yeah. Where are they located? Aren't they in Florida, or am I making that up? No, Texas. Austin, Texas. Okay, yeah. Cool. All right. So that's all we have for the news. All right, Christopher, let's get into what we're playing here. And I guess I'll go first because I don't have actually too much to say, even though there's a lot written here.
Yeah.
So I got a couple platinums in the last week. I platinum. So after playing PS5's Until Dawn remake, I went back and played Until Dawn on PS4, and I just ended up platinuming it. Played through it twice. It's better than the remake. In my opinion, that's the way you want to play it. And then if you like it, so if you've never played Until Dawn, just save your money. I think it's even on PlayStation Plus Extra, but you can buy it for a lot cheaper. And then play it. And if you enjoy it, then maybe you'll want to see what the remake's all about. But I wouldn't start with the remake because I think that the original one is actually the superior version, especially on PS5 when you played at 60 frames and all the rest. So maybe PS5 Pro will fix some of what's wrong with Until Dawn remake visually and in terms of running at 30 frames and stuff. But until we see that, I would really just recommend the original. So I platinumed that. That was Platinum 168. And then I also platinumed Kinitsugami, Path of the Goddess, Capcom's really unique ActRaiser style kind of game that came out this past summer. That's platinum number 169. And Stu Anderson wrote in and said, "Hey guys, hope everyone is well and thriving. Has there been a game this year that surprised you in a way you were not expecting whatsoever?" This is the game, man. And this is what's so fun in some sense about not paying too much attention to preview coverage and game announcements apart from the existence of a product. And I've been really lucky in my own unique way to kind of detach completely from the pre-release cycle of all these games that I'm interested in, or games that in this case, that sneak up on me because I'm not really aware of what they even are. And then you finally see it for what it is, and you're like, damn, this is fucking dope. And there's no expectation. There's nothing to be met or not met. It's just is what it is, and you encounter it. And I'm experiencing this with Silent Hill 2 in some sense too, which I'll talk about in a minute. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I really, really, to your point, Stu, I really, really, really like this game. And it's one of those things I was telling Jaffe on a conversation we were having recently that's going to go up on Sacred Symbols Plus in the coming days. We talked about this game a little bit, and I was saying, unfortunately, it's one of those games where you really have to play it somewhat extensively to extract everything necessary out of it. You're put on this field, basically. It's kind of like tower defense-ish. You have like a woman who's slowly walking down a path, basically, in each stage, and you have to protect her from enemies. And there's a whole story to it and why it's happening or whatever. It's very Japanese themed, which is super cool. And so you in each of these maps, there's a day-night cycle, and in each of these maps, you kind of free captive villagers from traps and whatever, and then you can make them into character classes. So you have to have those classes unlocked, but one is like a warrior and one's an archer and one's, a healer and whatever. And you might have 8 of them on a stage or whatever. And you can use them and control their movements and their actions in these menus, and have them post up and kind of protect her. And then you, as the main character, play an active role. So like it's an action game as well. So like you actually could not, there are stages where there are no villagers, and there are stages where the villagers might all be incapacitated, but you will win because you, as the playing action character, are able to kind of hold your own against the enemies. And it's really, really fun. As you get deeper into the game, you start unlocking all of the character classes. Like you unlock a ninja and a sumo wrestler and like all these different things. And it's really cool. And when you have access to all of that stuff, then the game comes really dynamic. So it was New Game Plus where I think this game really, really, really shines. And each stage has a series of items to find and a series of like, try to beat the stage without using a ration, beat the stage without losing a villager, use every character class, like that kind of stuff. And you get extra kind of currency that you can upgrade your characters with. So it's just a really, really solid game. It came out back in July. It's on Game Pass. If you play on Xbox, I don't know if it's on PC Game Pass, but it's over there if you want to check it out. And they're royally you out there, obviously. And I highly, highly recommend it. And if the ActRaiser connection intrigues you, then I definitely think you should check it out, because I love ActRaiser. That's one of my very favorite games. And ActRaiser is a god simulator and an action game, but it's separate. Half the game is a god simulator, half the game's an action game. This is like putting it together. So it all happens at the time. It's very cool. Very, very cool. And I don't think anyone's playing it, but that's definitely the game that snuck up on me the most. I'm also playing Castlevania Dominus. So I've kind of moved on to this. Castlevania Dominus Collection is the DS trilogy of Castlevania games. And so right now I'm playing Order of Ecclesia, which came to DS in 2005. That's the first of that trilogy. And these are really the final real Castlevania games that were ever released in some sense. It's so artfully done and so well done. The games are so beautiful. It's presented really well. A lot of cool museum pieces, music, and all the rest. These are these are games that absolutely sparkle on big screens, and it's amazing how beautiful they looked on DS, but really being able to see the pixel art, the pixels are so big and chunky.
Yeah.
It's so cool. The action's really fun. Order of Ecclesia is interesting because you're using enemy skills instead of like a whip or a sword or whatever. So you have to kind of like kill enemies and then you take their skills and you use them. So like this guy uses a sword or whatever. So I'm playing that and messing around with that a little bit. And then Silent Hill 2. And I played Silent Hill 2 for a couple of hours, and Ethereal Pizza wrote in about what I'm experiencing. He says, "Hey boys, hope all is going well. Just a quick question. Is anybody on the panel having performance and lighting issues with Silent Hill 2? I was plagued with the static fuzzy effect all throughout Alan Wake 2, and it reared its ugly head again on Silent Hill 2. I really want to love this game, but when all the enemies are outlined in white fuzz, as well as the interiors of the buildings, it's distracting and immersion breaking to the point of not even wanting to play anymore. Such a weird issue to be hit with twice. What say you? Cheers, fellas, and keep up the good work." I mean, same.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this. So I was explaining to I don't know what show I was on recently where I was talking about it, and I'm a layman with this, so you got to kind of bear with me.
Mm.
Before I started using HDR, so with PS5, really, right? Games would have these very specific brightness settings, and it would always tell you like, here's a logo,
Right.
and like make it so that you can barely see it. I would tick it up like several notches beyond that all the time because I couldn't see shit, right? Starting with PS5, games seem to have found a really nice sweet spot with HDR, with blacks, and whites, and the way things like the colors mix and the depth of them, and it's beautiful. So I actually never mess with or very rarely mess with the brightness on these newer games because it seems to be so well adjusted. And they also give you options that I don't understand. It's no longer like make the symbol barely visible. Now it's like, here's gamma X and here's like, I don't know what the fuck this is, dude. So I don't even mess with it. So I didn't mess with the Silent Hill 2 stuff at all. And I've had pretty good experience with that on PS5, where I've no longer had to like saturate the shit out of the picture to see. It just seems to work. And I think it's about the depth of the whites and the depths of the blacks and all the rest. So I'm playing it, and at first, you're on that opening street with the car and all the rest, and I'm turning the camera and I'm exploring. I'm like, what's with the fucking motion blur? Right? So I go into the menus, and I realize it's running at 30 frames, and it's running in fidelity mode or whatever. And so I'm like, oh, no, absolutely not. And I put it in performance mode. And then the movement's better, but then I'm running down the street, and there's like, so the pavement is uneven. There's like little divots all in it. A lot of the divots are covered in water, and then a lot of the water is being hit by raindrops. So there's just constant movement on this uneven ground, and it is flickering, dude, like crazy. I took videos of it. I got to send it to you at some point.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, is this really happening again? Now, I kept playing, and when you're in more of a wooded area with like dirt and shit like that, it's not nearly as bad. And I would actually say the game's really beautiful, but there's just this really distracting lighting stuff. And then I get a little deeper into the game, and I'm like, it's so dark. Like, I can't, and I know, I get it. Like, I'm trying to be in the universe of the game. I'm in a fucking house with boarded up windows. Where's the light going to be coming from? But I'm like, I need to be able to see just a little bit more, but I don't want to, but I don't know how to, and I don't mess with the brightness on these games because I don't know like what the settings mean, because they give you like eight options, and it's like, this is at 1.5 and this is 0.083s. And I'm like, dude, so I'm getting bombarded by both sides where I'm like, there's this really bad, it's not as bad as Alan Wake 2 in my opinion. Alan Wake 2 was crazy how bad that was for me, where I was like, this is unplayable. Like anyone that saw it like this would realize that you can't play this. So it's not that distracting here, but it is distracting. And I'm like, so I was playing it for a little while, and I'm like, I'm just going to wait for the Pro.
That's fair.
And see if it just helps, because the Pro, one of the stool legs, as it were, is ray tracing and lighting. So it's like, okay, maybe this will be fixed, because I don't want to annoy the fuck out of myself by not having the most pristine experience. And I don't know how other people don't notice this, but it's distracting to me. It is staticky. Like that's a great way of putting it. It's weird. But maybe it's just a few people that are experiencing it. I know that there's such bespoke, peculiar problems with PS5 games for people that I don't put it past it that no one else experiences this but me. But it is. I'm not lying to your face,
Yeah, no. I don't think you're making it up. I think, I don't know. I think, well, first of all, I'm still playing Silent Hill 2. I'm like 13 hours in, I think approaching my 14th. I'm in the Historical Society right now. And so if people are playing or people know Silent Hill 2, they'll have an idea of like where I'm at. I've spent a lot of time playing it. But I think people bring these things up to me, like the Alan Wake 2 shimmering or like the the Silent Hill 2 static, and I guess I just don't, or even Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, like, oh well, it's so unclear, the image, and I'm just like, I think I'm just so frame rate oriented that I really it just doesn't do anything to me. Like I just think I know how to tune it out. Either I tune it out or if I flip it to fidelity mode and that issue's gone, but like the frame rate's worse, it's just like I'd rather have whatever that fucking other issue is. I don't know if I've noticed anything too distracting about Silent Hill 2, but like I think my tolerance for that stuff, or like my my bar for that stuff is a little bit higher than a lot of people. Like I could see why, like, because there are videos of shimmering in Alan Wake 2 that I noticed in YouTube videos that I was like, ooh, that's pretty bad. But I don't remember, like, I played through Alan Wake 2 and I don't remember seeing that. So it might be that like PlayStation 5 has like weird, independent, bespoke, like some people are experiencing things that other people aren't. It's also possible that I might just have tuned it out somehow because I was just, because I will say something about Silent Hill 2 is that it is the sound design and atmosphere work is fucking exceptional. Like it's really good shit. Like if you play that game with headphones on, especially, it is fucking incredible. And I think that does a lot of heavy lifting. Probably the same amount of heavy lifting that good sound design did for games back in the day on PS1 that, without that attention to detail in the atmosphere would have been hilarious to look at, But yeah, I don't think it would be a big idea or like a big deal to wait for the pro version, because I think, and I could be mistaken, I think Silent Hill 2 is one of those.
It is. It's one of the games that said that they were gonna. Yeah. So,
that's valid, I would say, and it's so close.
Wait.
You might as well.
Yeah, I'm just gonna wait and just start, because I'm only a couple hours in. Not even. I'm also getting my ass kicked. I'm like using all my healing items and stuff. I'm like, I'm not playing this right. I don't think I got to just come back to this. So there's nothing inherently wrong with it. But Results May Vary wrote in and thinks it's an Unreal 5 thing. He says, hey, CNC, I've been enjoying Silent Hill 2 Remake, with my only real issue being the technical issues stemming from Unreal Engine 5. My question is simple. When does Epic fix the constant stuttering, lighting flickering, and shimmering seen in almost every AAA game these days? No dev is safe from these issues, it appears. This is clearly not a machine issue like Colin has mentioned before in games like Alan Wake 2. My worry is the industry push to use UE5, but with no fixes in sight for these issues, is this cause for concern that we have to deal with this going forward. I think it is. Like there is something interesting about that. It seems like Unreal 5 really, or Epic is winning the AAA engine war outside of the proprietary stuff that these different publishers use. Yeah. And so it is kind of incumbent, if people much more technical than I think that, and it sounds like you are and others are certainly, it's like, yeah, then this is obviously a problem that's going to become just an anchor around different games' neck unless they deal with it. And I've not seen it apart from these games that, and maybe just not been clued into it, apart from games that are atmospheric and dark, because then that kind of shit just really blows through. And dude, the Alan Wake 2 stuff is insane how bad it was for me. Like I was like, this can't be right. Like there's no way the game looks like this. There's just no way. And that was when I stopped playing it. And I'm really looking forward. The timing's kind of serendipitous in some sense. I'm looking forward to it because all the DLC should be out by that time. Yeah. And so I'll just be able to play it all and just get it over with. So
yeah, doesn't that new DLC come out in like a week or something? I think
it was revealed at the Xbox thing that happened today when we're recording.
Yeah, I think I saw a tweet about it.
So yeah,
I think it's totally valid, like especially because the Pro is really close. The thing about the Unreal Engine 5 stuff is like I'm kind of in agreement, like because I played oh my god, what the hell is that? The magic shooter, Immortals of Avium.
Oh yeah.
And that was Unreal 5, right? That was an Unreal 5. That was the earliest.
I think it was one of the first commercial UE5 releases.
And I remember playing it, and I liked that game more than I thought I would, for sure. But like, there were issues with the performance of that game to the point where I was just like, man, I don't know if I believe in Unreal Engine 5. And it's especially just like these like big pushes towards it, like Halo's going to Unreal. I was like, I don't know, I just played a Unreal first-person shooter and it was fine, but like there was just definitely, I don't know, I'm a little bit worried about that. But it could also be that the Pro is probably going to alleviate a lot of these issues. Like one would hope that that's the case. Like maybe we won't even have to worry about this stuff going forward, because maybe it's one of those situations where the engine was a little bit ahead of technology and now technology's caught up. So like now we won't have to worry about these type of issues going forward, at least on PlayStation anyway. So that's possible too. We'll see, but I'm in agreement in some way with Results May Vary that like Unreal Engine 5 has some weird hiccups about it, at least with the current generation of technology on game machines as it currently operates. It's weird. I don't know what's going on exactly.
The other side of this Silent Hill 2 puzzle is Bloober Team. Ham Stroker's Ejacula wrote in and said, greetings, CNC.
Oh, God.
Going through D withdrawals, but I'm hanging in there. Given the incredible job that Bloober Team have done with a Silent Hill 2 remake that exceeded all expectations, what's next for them? Is this a sign that underneath a series of underwhelming and insignificant releases, Bloober have great potential if they are given a proven IP or narrative to work with? What would you like to see next? I can't help but think further releases in the Silent Hill series are tempting for both Konami and fans alike. Shout out to the best gaming podcast team in the world. Nobody does it quite like LSM. It's interesting. I think Bloober announced a team or a new game today as well. At the Xbox event. I don't know what's next for them. I'm happy for their success. I think we were making fun of them a little bit last week, but I think it's exciting that they finally have like a solid mid 80s Metacritic game to work off of and build confidence off of and experience off of. This is where my ignorance in Silent Hill comes from, because my experience with Silent Hill ends with 2, with the exception of I played like the random Vita game Book of Memories, which was like, whatever.
I don't know.
But like I never played Downpour or whatever in any of those games. So I have no insight into what people want from Silent Hill next, but I'm under the assumption that the what is considered the great Silent Hill is very limited. And I don't know in what direction you kind of go from there. I know people want to kind of have redos of some of the different Silent Hill games that didn't match up and that the series went away for a while for a reason, but I'm not sure. Would you go to Silent Hill 3 next, I guess? Is that like the sequence of what happens? I have no clue, really. Let me see. Yeah. Silent Hill 3.
We're kind of a weird panel, I guess, because like I also just have no experience with Silent Hill. Like this is my first time playing through Silent Hill 2. Like I have no connection to the original. I think I played a little bit of, what was that PS3 one?
That's
Homecoming.
Homecoming, yeah, that's from 2008.
I played a little bit of Homecoming, and I didn't like it at the time, but that was also a time where I was like, I was very much a bitch when it came to horror games. Like that was around the time that I was like, the BioShock demo scared me. You know what I mean? So like I wasn't really. So maybe that game was better than I remember it. Although like I feel like Homecoming's not a particularly well received Silent Hill. I don't know. But I don't know. My assumption is that if Bloober Team is going, and by the way, I'm saying this with no knowledge of whatever the game they announced today was. My assumption is that if they do have a future with Silent Hill, it is with remakes. You know, it is presumably like Silent Hill 3 remake or Silent Hill 1 remake. Like, I don't know. It's one of those. I would imagine, because they did such a good job with like the best one, or the one that is most highly regarded. You know, so why not?
Yeah, I'm just looking at like not really knowing too much. Just Metacritic scores, I guess, are the best tool we have. Silent Hill 1 is an 86 on Metacritic. Silent Hill 2 is an 89. And then Silent Hill 3 is an 85. So that would be a good direction to go in. Silent Hill 4 is a 76. And then it kind of goes all down from there.
Yeah.
Because then you have Homecoming. You have Origins, Homecoming, Shattered Memories, and Downpour, and I don't think people like those games at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe the third one, or not as much as they like the other ones, I guess. Like, you know, we're talking about 60s and 70s or whatever. I don't think these are games necessarily worth going and remaking, but maybe I was saying to Jaffe, like Silent Hill 1 is the most nostalgic one for me, but that was just because of where I was in my life, and I remember so specifically playing it, and I was with my friend Bryce. It was the summer after 9th grade. It was like a whole thing. Silent Hill 2, I did play. I was a senior in college, or a senior in high school, but I I don't remember. I don't even remember it because he was saying the game is so long, and I'm like, the game definitely wasn't long. So I think they added a shit ton to this one too. So it's not quite a beat to beat remake.
Yeah. It feels like it's more like Resident Evil 2 remake, kind of, where it feels like it's definitely expanded based on like some of the stuff that I've heard from even just people like Matt. Like I think I listened to Maddie talk about it a little bit, and it seems like Silent Hill is like expanded greatly, like the town. You can explore a lot more. There's a lot more like items to find, ammo, health pickups in different places that probably weren't in the original. So it seems a little bit like that, which is cool. I think that's awesome. I think it's a great way to handle a remake like this. It's like expand it, but like keep the formula pretty standard. And I do think Bloober Team is just really good at building atmosphere, man. Like it's good shit. Silent Hill 2 remake, I think, is phenomenal, like as far as that goes. But they still have a history where whenever they've been in charge of everything stem to stern, it hasn't really worked out all that great. Like they're not really writers. They're not really writers of the best stories. They're not really. They don't really hit when they're left to their own devices for every single thing. But I do think with a blueprint of like something like Silent Hill 3 or like Silent Hill 1, I think if they bring all of that, if they bring those blueprints up to modern standards and like use their skill at building atmosphere and just kind of apply it to those games, I think you could have a pretty winning streak of games with this studio. I don't know if you want to give them their own Silent Hill yet, though. You know, like, oh, here's Bloober Team with like the new like from the ground up Silent Hill. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, there is like a new Silent Hill being made, right? It's
F or
Silent
something?
Hill F or whatever.
Yeah,
I think. But who's making that? I want to just check. Yeah, Silent Hill F.
I think it was like a weird.
Neobards Entertainment, the 9th mainline game in the Silent Hill franchise. This is Wikipedia. In a departure from the majority of previous entries in the series, the game takes place in the 1960s rural Japan. So
that sounds dope, to be honest with you. But like the premise, anyway. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it lands.
So we'll see. Obviously, that's the future of it. And so, yeah, maybe they keep the remakes going. I'm rooting for Konami. I love Konami. I mean, that's a really important company to me when I was a kid and into my teens and into my 20s. They just really lost the plot at some point. Yeah. And I think they also just got distracted by other things that they're commercially invested in that they were making more money in and they just cared more about. And that's just the way it goes. Yeah. We have one other game. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, before we Castlevania Dominus, that's a Konami published game, right? That's obviously right. So so you might be the port. Yeah, so you might be a little bit more desensitized to it than I am, but like I remember like starting up Silent Hill 2 and seeing the red Konami, the Konami like backsplash was like that felt really cool. Like I don't know, like because that was like the first time I had seen that in like a long time. So it was like, ooh, this feels really cool. Like that they're back in a capacity that feels very polished and AAA with Silent Hill 2. So yeah,
you're right. Yeah, it's like blood red, that splash screen. It is kind of cool. I wish they'd bring back. Actually, one of the custom shirts that I'm having made now is the old Konami logo with the orange and red kind of swoosh in it. And I wish they would bring that logo back. That logo is so sexy and never needed to change. That one. Yeah, that's like the original. The red background is like a product of the 21st century. That's not what the logo was back in the day.
Oh, right. I do remember this.
So
yeah, that is a good logo.
Yeah, it's so good. They got to bring that back. They won't.
No.
All right. Caleb Greer wrote into us about the final game we'll talk about right now. And he says, Greetings, OGs. I must say, Bandai Namco has really outdone themselves with Budokai Tenkaichi 4. It's a fantastic game with relatively deep mechanics for the series, loads of content, and it looks gorgeous. I wouldn't be surprised if it surpasses 10 million units sold. My question for Chris, what is your favorite alternate path story so far? I know some folks complain about the slides and the slides in campaign, but lots of the alternate paths have fleshed out cutscenes called sparking episodes that are really well done. Dragon Ball is back, and I look forward to watching Daima's limited theatrical release for the dub in November. R.I.P. Akira Toriyama. So you're playing this game. We'll talk a little bit about its sales in a moment. Doing very, very well. What say you about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't necessarily have much to add from what I said last episode. I'm playing it. It's just kind of like a routine for me. Like it's a perfect kind of nightcap for me. Like I just kind of play it at the end of my day. It's nostalgic. It's just fun. This is kind of one of those things that I was talking about a little bit earlier, where it just feels like an old school design game where it's like, look, this is a 3D arena fighter that doesn't give a fuck about balance, like at all. This is just like, this is a fun game. And it's in some ways the characters are very lore accurate. So if you're going to have like Krillin fighting like, I don't know, fucking Super Saiyan God fucking Goku, like you're gonna get trounced in all likelihood. Like you could potentially win, maybe if you're like really good, but the odds are very, very stacked against you. And I like that. Like I think it's cool. Like it feels more like a Dragon Ball kind of sim in that way, where it's just kind of like you get to play through the anime. I will say, like, as far as like the alternate story paths, I'm going through them for like trophy reasons. I don't know if I'm paying that much attention to them because, quite frankly, like I love Dragon Ball very, very deeply. I'm very, very familiar with it. So I know like a lot of people were talking about like, oh man, the story cutscenes are like really, really underdeveloped, and they didn't seem to put a lot of effort into it. And I would agree with that, but I also just don't give a shit because I've seen this story a million times, and I've seen some of the what ifs. They're kind of cool. I don't know if any of them stick out to me because this game feels like playing with action figures as a kid. Like that's the best way that I could feel about that I could describe it to people who maybe aren't familiar. It really feels like playing with action figures again. Like I get the same kind of almost nostalgic sensation of just like, oh man, this feels very, very childlike in a very wholesome way. But it's also to the point where it's like I see these what if episodes and I was like, what if Vegeta died in this thing? Or like, what if you don't team up with Piccolo at the beginning of Z? And I can't help but compare it to like the what if scenarios that I had as a kid with action figures, where it's just like, what if Goku fought Spider-Man and lost? And it's just like it feels a little bit under, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like reading a book versus seeing the movie, where it's like it's never gonna really compare to like some of the stuff that you've come up with in your own imagination. But I have seen some of the cutscenes, and there is a decent amount of effort put into them, but I haven't really delved into them. I've really just been playing like online and just custom battles, like just like genuinely just like fighting the CPU, because it is just a joy to play. But I wish I had a better answer about the branching paths, but I haven't really looked into those too much outside of like for trophy reasons. I'm kind of skipping a lot of the cutscenes, to be honest with you, because I see it, I get it, you know.
Dude, you talking about the Goku and Spider-Man thing, this reminds me of playing with toys as a kid generally, and how fun that was. Like, why can't we play with toys anymore? Just sit Indian style on the ground, build the blocks up and like, make a little fortress. And I used to love playing with wooden blocks. Just loved it. Yeah. Like just building castles and all sorts of shit. Love that shit, man.
It's good shit. Yeah.
You don't realize like how good you have it in those moments where it's just like nothing matters because like you have no control. You just, oh God. It's fun. It's I will say, man, like feeling that feeling again, even through a video game, which is like very, very rare, like just feeling that action figure feeling. It was just like, oh man, this is really great. And it kind of brought me back. It reminded me of like playing in like the bathtub with toys that I really shouldn't have brought in there because they had like fucking batteries and shit. I just didn't give a shit because they were just like, who cares? I don't give a shit if my Goku can speak. I'll speak for him when he's fighting fucking Aragog from Harry Potter for no good reason. Like that was just so fun. Like in some ways, that's probably like what appeals to people about Fortnite in some way, where it does kind of probably feel like that to a lot of people, where it's just like here's Spider-Man fighting fucking Eminem or whatever action figures you just had lying around. You had to force yourself to like make it make sense in your own like childlike bullshit imagination. Totally. It's fun shit. It's good shit. Like I think they did a great job. Apparently the sales are doing pretty well. I don't remember the exact number. Yeah, we'll get into it in a moment. Yeah, because I have numbers for you.
Well, cool. Yeah, so love it. I highly recommend it, especially if you're a Dragon Ball fan. If this is your first Dragon Ball game, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because it's missing a lot of story elements. This is definitely like a fan's game. You know what I mean? Like this is not the game you play to get like a gist of the story, because they skip a lot of stuff from the anime. But if you're just into like a pure arena fighter that is very, very not focused on being balanced at all and is very just like a really faithful recreation of some of the fights in the anime. I mean, I swear to God, some of these fights feel like you're watching the show, and it's like a really high compliment to that team. I think they did the Naruto games on Xbox 360 and PS3 as well, which were, I remember back in the day, only kind of loosely understanding what Naruto was about, only casually kind of interested in it. But I remember the fights in those games looking very, very cinematic and very, very faithful as well. So they've got something at that studio that allows them to do this. But like, yeah, highly recommend it. It's great. So fun.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the one piece of news I wrote out just because it's a lot of numbers.
Sure.
But we can go through it quick. Number one, the only big piece of news this week, sales numbers. American economic tracking firm Circana has released a new set of data for the games industry here in the United States, this time for the month of August 2024. Total industry-wide spending is down 7%, with console sales down a third year over year. Cumulative year-to-date console spending is down 28%, but overall spending on games, subscriptions, expansions, and so on is actually up 1% year over year. With all that said, PlayStation 5 remains the territory's best-selling console, as it's slotted as August winner. Madden NFL 25 was the best-selling game for the month, followed by College Football 25, both Electronic Arts published games delivering them massive financial rewards. Star Wars Outlaws from Ubisoft slotted in at 3. Other notable games include Spider-Man 2 at 9, Square Enix's newly released Visions of Mana at 10. That whole team got laid off after that game came out. Gundam Breaker 4 at 11 from Bandai Namco, Helldivers 2 at 13, Ghost of Tsushima at 15, and Gran Turismo at 19. College Football 25 remains the year's best-selling game to date in the United States, followed by Helldivers 2 in second. Other notable big sellers this year so far include Dragon's Dogma 2 at 6, MLB The Show 24 at 7, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at 9, and Persona 3 Reload at 19. These sales numbers join a slew of publisher-announced sales numbers for other games, such as the following. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero surpassed 3 million copies sold after just a day on the market, according to publisher Bandai Namco. While Sega-owned imprint Atlas announced its popular JRPG Metaphor ReFantazio has sold 1 million copies to date. Meanwhile, Capcom revealed that its Resident Evil 4 remake from 2023 has now sold 8 million copies, while Hazelight's mega-popular EA-published cooperative game It Takes Two has now sold a staggering 20 million copies. And there's one more that I didn't add to this. Konami announced today Silent Hill 2 has surpassed 1 million copies sold across PS5 and PC. So big success all around. Yeah. Should be an interesting couple of months on the, but so again, this was August, so we haven't even seen September's numbers yet. And nonetheless, all these games are from October. So it's going to be a good and nice run to the end of the year. And Call of Duty is going to join this soon enough. So we'll be tracking this. Any thoughts on this before we move on? Nothing really to say, I don't think, from my end, but
yeah, I mean, 3 million after a day for Dragon Ball is fucking awesome. I think that's I think that's a testament to how hungry people were for this specific game. Like, dude, Tenkaichi's so good, and it's such a specific type of design that is like not really seen now, like especially in the fighting game community. Like, I feel like fighting games are very, very serious. They're very, very competitive. They're very, very there's something sophisticated about it, and I love that Sparking is like, no, it's just nonsense. It's fun. If a character is stronger in the anime, he's just going to trounce whatever character is way weaker than him, and that's fine because it's fun, and people were hungry for it. I will say, like, it's so funny that this game is like as successful as it is, because it's one of those things where, like, I can imagine it like if this game came out on election day, it would have a staggering impact. Like on the Hispanic vote, especially, like it would be like I really feel like it would have been crazy. But yeah, congrats to them. Congrats. I mean, everybody seems to be doing well. Glad that Silent Hill 2 is doing well. Metaphor, new IP doing well. Dragon Ball back on top. It's dope. It's really cool.
All right. Well, yeah, congratulations especially to, I'm pleased to see Atlas's sales with Metaphor. We're going to talk about that game a little more deeply now. And then a lot of PlayStation games just kind of hanging on. MLB The Show just kind of churning. 7th best-selling game in the United States. Not so bad.
No.
All right. Let's get into listener inquiries as we wrap up this shorter episode. There's not too much to talk about this week.
Yeah.
Can't make news out of nothing, of course. And we're missing Dustin, too. There's only 2 of us now. So, but it does seem... What's funny is that I think the action right now with Sacred Symbols, I think, is on Sacred Symbols Plus, because we're talking about so many games now, and those game level discussions are really left to that show. So now we're like in the season of playing, not the season of prognosticating. And so come join us on Patreon if you want to listen to a lot of those as well. Patreon.com/lastdaymedia. But let's hear first from Anthony. He writes in and says, "Hey lads, so I think I know that neither of you are playing it. I will play it, by the way, because you're going to talk about Metaphor. But I have to get this off my chest. I don't understand whatsoever the hype and all the amazing reviews and opinions of Metaphor ReFantazio. I played the demo for nearly 2 hours, really trying to understand what every single other person in the world is fucking on about. And I think it's completely ordinary. In fact, I haven't enjoyed any of the Persona games either. I tried 4 Golden for around 3 hours, couldn't get beyond the initial opening for 5 before turning off my PlayStation in disgust. Now, I like JRPGs. In fact, Rebirth is my game of the year, so I can get on board with the cheesy anime shit, but something about the Atlas style just doesn't vibe with me. What the fuck am I missing here? They feel like AA games to me, and the apparent excellent style they apparently have, I find all too much. I find all far too much. I'm sorry. Too much noise on the screen with everything flashing about, shouting at me. I mean, I think they're shit, and they make me angry, and I shouldn't let them. All the best. It's interesting. So I bought Metaphor when it came out, and it's one of those games on my cross media bar looking at me right now. I will play it. I'm definitely going to play it. Here's what I'll say, Anthony, is that if you didn't like Golden and you didn't like Persona 5, I have no idea why you would necessarily buy into a game like this made by the people that make those games. Not in that they can't make a game that's not like those games. Catherine is a great example of a game that's not like Persona, that's made by the same people, but this game was very much predicated as being like a different sort of turn-based Japanese role-playing game with the same, like you said, loud screens and loud UI and all of the rest. And so I don't know if you went in blind, which I think is fun sometimes, but I wouldn't be surprised that you wouldn't like a game made by the people that made Persona 4 and Persona 5, which are widely considered by many people some of the best JRPGs ever. It's nothing wrong with you. It just means that you kind of maybe have unnecessary or not unnecessary, unreasonable expectations of what you were going to find here. Because he said something really interesting in particular, Chris. He says they feel like AA games to me. I think they are AA games.
Yeah.
I think Persona is a AA game.
Yeah,
people confuse like quality, like what we think about the heights of a game, right? The Last of Us is only good because it's a AAA game. No, The Last of Us is a great game and it's a AAA game, right? Like those are two separate things. Persona 4 Golden is a really special game, but I don't think it's a AAA game. It's somewhat more AAA by the standard of late PS2, early PS3 or whatever, but it's not Final Fantasy 13 or like one of its contemporaries like that. And so you say that kind of pejoratively in some sense, Anthony, or at least that's the way I read it. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel like these are games that aren't mega expensive to make. That's why they take so long, because I think they can take a lot of time to make something like that. So I don't know. These games are just not for you. I'm not necessarily very defensive of them. I understand that, because I think of sometimes like, what the fuck am I thought about this when I was playing Trails of Cold Steel, even, which is just like Persona, where it's like, what would a normal person with no context think of me playing this?
Right.
Like I'm in a school with like flirting 16-year-olds doing side quests to help them work their day job. And like, it's like, what is this? So from that perspective, I get it, but
yeah, it's just not your style of game. I think it's perfectly reasonable to have tastes where it's just like certain things just don't hit. I mean, I tried the demo for ReFantazio as well, just because like, oh, there's a demo. Like I might as well try a demo. Like, even though like Persona just doesn't vibe with me. I gave it a shot and I was filtered within 25 minutes. I was just like, no, this is not for me. And that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, not everything can be for everybody. I'm sure there's going to be people who are like, Silent Hill 2 sucks, or it's just not, this isn't my type of horror game. That's totally, that's valid. I just think, we look for different things based on the things that we like. Just because you are a JRPG fan. I mean, you're talking about Rebirth. I think, right? He mentions Rebirth in this write-up somewhere. And like, I like Rebirth as well. It's a very different game than Persona. Like, very, very different. Like, to the point where I would argue there's really no comparison between them outside of the fact that they're loosely, like, they're just JRPGs in like in a holistic sense. They're very, very different games, stylistically, gameplay-wise, structure-wise. One's an open world, action-oriented, really, really long RPG, and then the other one is like a turn-based kind of isometric. Like, they're completely different. And so just because you like one JRPG doesn't mean you'll like another one, especially if there's so many different styles of JRPG to choose from. I think it's valid to give it a shot, especially if it is a free demo, and you might as well. But I think poo-pooing it or just being like, oh, it's shit, I don't get it. It's like, you can not get it. It's fine. I don't get it either, quite frankly. Like, I remember I started ReFantazio and I was immediately met with like an anime cutscene, and I was like, this doesn't do it for me. Like, whatever it is,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm a big JRPG fan, and there are plenty of JRPGs I don't like. You're not going to catch me playing like Hyperdimension Neptunia. You're not going to catch me playing Atelier. You know, like they're just, but that doesn't mean that they're made for me either. So it's like liking sports. Oh, you like every sport? It's like, no.
Right. Yeah.
You can like some sports and not other sports. That's okay. Anthony, find your way. You don't like the high school fantasy of these games, I don't think either. You know, although I don't actually know very much about Metaphor if it follows the same sort of track. No, I know it has like yeah, go ahead.
Well, from what I played, which is very limited to be fair, but it's more like fantasy oriented. I don't think it's school. I think it's like knights and
cool
stuff like that. But like,
yeah, that's good.
I quit really early on, so
yeah, I've tried to read as little about it as possible. The one thing I did see that I was actually happy to see, even though it's a little bit of it's not spoilers, it just tells you what kind of game it is that they do have some sort of calendar in it, which is like very much their thing, where like this is this day and this day and this day. Although I think it operates a little differently, so we'll see. I'm going to play it. I feel like that. I don't know. I really am very interested in it, so I might get to it sooner. But it feels like a holiday break game where I can kind of like sit with a role playing game, because that's what I played Tales of Arise last holiday break, and that was a lot of fun. So maybe we'll do that again. I don't know. Okay. Joshua Holt wrote in and says, "Hey, Sacred Boys. As you know, there is a glut of documentaries available these days about many subjects. Is there anything gaming related you'd like to see get a documentary treatment? A couple for me are the PSN outage and Xbox One's E3 disaster. Thanks for all you do." In some sense, I mean, this is it is a great question, and there are like big overarching events like the outage and all sorts of other things that you can focus in on. But part of what I think makes documentaries special, or what have made them special to me, and I love documentaries, is that the ones that are about something random that you don't think you care about, or something very, very small and very focused. Yeah. This is what I think is so great about 30 for 30, the ESPN documentary series. If you're into sports, that's like a must watch. There's many of them. There's dozens of those now. And they're always about something small, like a specific game or like a person or a season, but never about like, oh, this is the history of the team, you know?
Right.
So your mind, Joshua, where it is right, where it's like, yeah, it's got to be about like one thing. And I think that would be cool, but I'd love a game documentary to come out about something really unusual. And that's like the unpredictable, some problem with some game you'd never heard of or something like that. That would be cool. So I have no specific wants or needs, but then again, I just kind of I'll watch a good documentary about anything. So,
same. Yeah. I don't know if I have it. Yeah. I'm kind of with you where it's like, it would be kind of impossible to give a suggestion, because like part of what would appeal to me is that like I wouldn't have thought about it. You know, it's not something that I would have even suggested or something that I'm just not aware of, you know. It'd have to be something that's like, here's the Tomb Raider game that never happened. You know what I mean? Or something like that. And it's just like, oh, what's going on with that? Like that's crazy. Or anything like that. I think I actually really like it when studios do like that kind of, like, I think Xbox did, can't remember, Power On or something. Like they had like some documentary kind of series, a couple like in the last like 2 years or something.
Right, that's right.
Where they talked very candidly about like, oh man, yeah, we did this. They kind of covered the Xbox One E3 thing, which to be fair was not the E3 thing. It was the reveal, which was like 3 weeks before E3, which was like a mess. Where they were like ESPN, and you're like, oh no,
yeah, bad news.
But yeah. By the way, since we're on the subject of documentaries, highly recommend Tickled. There's a documentary called Tickled, and I promise you, it is infinitely worth your. It's so crazy.
What's it about?
It's about a competitive tickling league, and that's all I'll say. It is one of the most amazing. It is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
Interesting. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Nuts.
So yeah, Joshua, thank you for writing in. Appreciate you. I love a good documentary. Eldon John wrote in and said, "Greetings from the north of England." Oh, I gotta make a timestamp here. I was playing the Witcher 3 DLC recently, and something caught my attention. Like many fantasy games, it uses Northern and Southern English accents to add depth and character to the NPCs. As a Northerner myself, I noticed how we often get cast as the peasants, rebels, or the common folk, while Southerners are portrayed as more well-off, serious, or self-serving. There's definitely a cultural divide in how we're represented in media, but I wonder if this nuance is picked up by people outside of the UK who might just hear a British accent. Do you guys notice the distinctions between the Northern and Southern English accents? Think Stark versus Lannister in Game of Thrones. Keep up the great work, and thanks for all the fantastic content. The honest answer is like, I don't really notice that stuff. to me, it reads as more like gruff or refined, but I guess maybe that's what you're saying. And it makes some sense to me as an outsider that this is what it would be, is like the Northerners or the peasants and the rebels and the common folk, because London's in the south of the country, and maybe that's where like all of the aristocracy would live and the nobility and all that kind of stuff. So that makes sense to me from an outsider, but I've never really picked up on those nuances. The nuances I pick up on are is like when you get to like Welsh and like Scotland and, you know, and obviously Ireland, which is not the UK at all, but that's where more of the nuance with, and obviously we were making fun of Australian recently. When you're talking about the English speaking countries, the nuance to me is just the difference between those. Like I can definitely pick between an Irish, a Scottish, an English person and an Australian person, definitely. But as far as like the inter-country I don't think it would be like asking, do people pick up the difference between, they probably do, like a Southern accent, a New England accent, California.
They must.
Yeah, I would assume so. So maybe it's just my own ignorance.
Well, they are a lot more dissimilar, I would say. Like I do think, I can tell the difference between like Liverpool and like Liverpool sticks out to me. Liverpool and Cockney stick out to me, but then there are other British accents that I think kind of meld together. They're a little bit more similar. Like Liverpool is very like, oh, what are you doing? Man, what's going on? You know, like that's very like, it's very Beatles or whatever the fuck, Ringo kind of tinged. And then Cockney is like Fable. So like that's like the one that I remember seeing a lot. It's like, oh, the paper, oh dear, oh god. It's very like, it's very Peter Molyneux. You know, it's like look at the way Milo interacts with the web. Look at the way the Connect picks up the emotions on screen, and it's like, shut the fuck up. But that's what I associate it. But like the second it goes on, like anything is like, if it's like, I don't know what a London accent is necessarily in relation to maybe like North South London. Like I can't pick up on like the finer details between that but I would imagine that it's probably really obvious if you live there. Like it would probably be the same thing between like a New York. I would imagine the similarity would be New York and Boston, right? Where New York and Boston are very different, but like they're kind of close to the point where, you know, a New Yorker or a Bostonite or even just like a general American might be able to tell. But like, I highly doubt that a British person would be able to tell the difference between, you know, New York and Boston, even if they are like different from our perspective, because they do have the same kind of like, you know, what are you doing? You know, they both kind of have that kind of tinge to them.
I'm trying to think, like, I don't know that I've ever really thought about it. It seems a little ignorant, I guess, you know.
Well, like the British accent stuff?
Yeah, like just like it's such a small country, you know, and it's funny that there's such differentiation even in that small country in such a small geography, when it takes such a wide geography to find true different accents in the United States. But even in New England, you definitely have different accents. Like the Boston accent is very different from like the Western Massachusetts accent that Micah and her family have. Especially Micah's family. She says some things that are crazy though, where, you know, like, and so maybe I'm a little off on that too. I don't know. It's an interesting topic.
I mean, dude, even New York and Philly have different, like noticeably different accents.
Yeah, sure. You're right. You're absolutely
right. Mega close.
You're absolutely right.
I wish we had, I kind of like, it's kind of weird that we haven't seen, like, I wish there was a podcast, and maybe there is one that I'm not aware of, but like, I wish there was a gaming podcast that was all like Southerners, but to the degree that like Cockney is British, you know what I mean? Like, I've been playing Metaphor ReFantazio.
Yeah.
You know? Fucking, what's that chicken from Looney Tunes?
Oh,
what's his name?
Foghorn
Leghorn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I say metaphor.
All right. Moving on. Alex Gallagher wrote in, said, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Dustin, a recent analysis published by the Consumer Technology Association is titled How the Proposed Trump Tariffs Increase Prices for Consumer Technology Products. This analysis projects that Trump's proposals will add $250 to the price of new gaming consoles. With the price of the PS5 Pro touching $700, the associated cost of manufacturing consoles trends upwards, and the likelihood of the PS6 being released somewhere in the next 4 years. How much of the chilling effect could this have on the barrier to entry in the next gen? And could this create an opportunity for Microsoft's streaming forward strategy? Now I say to you, every man, woman, and child, go forth and baptize that chicken in holy fire. Alex, thank you for writing in. There's two things about Trump right now that are bothering people in the games space, and this is one of them. The other one is him talking about like access to video games and like violent video games and stuff like that. I actually watched the statement, and he didn't say anything explicitly like I'm going to ban video games, but it was like, okay,
it's very 90s. It's very 90s Clinton. You know what I mean? It's just because I remember like that 90s Clinton speech, like, oh my God, this again? Really?
Yeah, it's a little scapegoatish, and I'm not thrilled about that. I wouldn't be thrilled about anyone doing that. I just say, I wanted to bring this up because I just want people to take heart that I just think this is all politics and that nothing is going to change for our ability to access tariff-free video game consoles, and that no one's banning your video games. So,
right, yeah.
As far as the video game ban stuff is concerned, it doesn't matter what Trump or anyone says. Video games are protected speech, according to the Supreme Court. There's nothing they can do.
Right.
These are walled gardens, and they can give you or grant you or rescind your access to any game they want. But the existence of a video game, like if you wanted to make a PC game and just sell it on your website, there's nothing they can do about that. And so don't fear that. So that's interesting to talk about. And I'll be very interested to see if Trump wins, and who knows what's going to happen. Is this something that he's really interested in pursuing? Is like just paying more attention to the entertainment mediums and policing them in some sense? Yeah,
I don't think he gives a shit about.
No, I
it.
don't think so.
I think it's just something. Now that's not like, I don't think you should fear this happening, but I also do feel like it's one of those things where it's like, if anybody even thinks that's a good idea to say, like the idea that that's even something that would appeal to anybody to say on the campaign trail is like very, very, I don't know, that's telling to me in some way, or it's like, what the like, how dated is your information that you even think that this is like a worthy thing to even say? When you know nothing's going to happen about it, you know you're not going to do this, you know, or maybe he doesn't know, and that's even more ridiculous. I don't know. It's we live in such a stupid fucking time.
Yeah, he criticizes. I'm trying to read the statement. Like, he criticizes violent games, but I just don't think you should read into it as we'll see what happens. But whatever, it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to tell everyone out there is like, this is protected free speech. So it is what it is. Other countries have different things to worry about, obviously. Like, did you see that Hotline Miami 2 was sold illegally on PSN for 1 year in Australia and no one realized it because the game is supposed to be banned there? So like,
I did see that.
These are things that don't really happen here. And I don't think you have anything to worry about. But as far as, and that's a parallel thing to what Alex was writing in about here, which is about tariffs. Now, I don't want to insult people's intelligence, but I think this is one of those things where some people don't know what a tariff is. And so I'm just going to tell you because you're not going to look it up yourself. And I think most people know what it is. It's very similar to when I was talking about write-offs at one point. And I'm like, it's okay. There's a whole Seinfeld joke about not knowing what write-offs are. Right. Tariffs are basically taxes put on imports from other countries sold in a domestic market. So you bring in a car from Mexico, it's a $10,000 car. The United States is like, no, it's cheaper to build it in Mexico. We have to protect our workforce. We're going to make it so that there's a 25% tax on your car. Therefore, it's $12,500. That makes it more expensive and tries to level the playing field with domestic production to make their cars more, likely to be bought. And there's different levels of tariffs around the world. Famously, Brazil has decades-long tariffs on imports that make video game playing extremely expensive there, like notoriously so, which is, again, why legacy consoles like Master System, Genesis, and PS2 existed so long in Brazil as a vibrant console, because things would have to get really, really cheap for them to become affordable. I think new PS4s were like $1,200 or something there when they came out, which is like, a 200% tariff or whatever. The reason this is relevant is because, as was noted here, Trump is proposing a series of tariffs on imports to protect domestic production. But I would say two things about this. There is no domestic production of video game consoles. Now, video game console, people have to understand, trade negotiations happen between countries that are monitoring and kind of controlling their own economies. So sometimes it's done on like a commodities basis. Like, we have tariffs on wood. I'm just using this as an example, like wood out of whatever, and copper out of this place. But a lot of times it could be like blanket tariffs, like everything from this place would be tariffed. But deals are made behind the scenes so that kind of situation is incredibly rare. And so though he's talking very boldly about tariffs, and you can feel about protectionism however you want. I mean, it's not what we're talking about here today. I'm not going to debate it one way or the other. I just feel like this is one of those things that would be it would be understood as part of a greater deal with, in this case, China, over a series of things with free trade, and where the commodities are interfering, like soybeans or wool or whatever the fuck, then they would nail those with tariffs. So I really just don't believe that there's going to be like a tariff on all Chinese goods. Like, that would be insanity. And I just don't think that that's going to happen. So what I'm saying right now is about both these topics, don't worry too much. That's it. Yeah. I wouldn't worry too much about it. You know, they don't give a fuck about video game consoles. They care about cars. They care about washing machines. Right. They care about, lead and oil, and they don't give a fuck about video game consoles. So don't worry. And maybe I'm wrong in the future, but can you imagine, like, the United States is the center of console gaming in the world, as far as money made, and as far as a lot of the companies being, AAA game companies being headquartered here, including one of the first parties. The amount of lobbying that would be participated in to make sure that didn't happen would be extraordinary. And that you're not seeing even any bubbling of that, like on a gamesindustry.biz or another industry website, where it's like, hey, maybe we should be paying attention to this. I just don't think anyone takes it very seriously. So fear not. Yeah, that's it. I don't know if you have anything you want to add, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, not really.
Okay, fair enough. The Blair Mitch Project wrote in, said, "Sup, sacred gents. Playing Astro Bot made me think about how far games have come over the past many decades, but I have an issue. I'm not reading well today. I'm sorry about that. As much as I might want to play some classic PS1 titles for the first time, games from that era look like unplayable trash. I know that they were built for CRTs, which can soften the otherwise Lego block aesthetic, but I have to really hold my nose to play the original Final Fantasy VII release earlier this year. Is there something wrong with me? Or do you guys also suffer from when playing games that went to 3D before the tech was ready?" I'm of two minds with this. Like, you're right there. And Chris, you and I discussed this, I think, on a previous episode some time ago. There was a guy that was doing like these representations of old school games on HD screens and then showing what they're supposed to look like on CRTs with like the level of bleed between the pixels and all the rest. And it really is night and day. But a lot of the examples he was using was actually 2D. The reality is that 3D PS1 and N64 games and Saturn 2 just don't hold up. They just don't. Like, it's very rare. And I think that there has to be a tolerance for it. And that tolerance might be built into what either like your historical interest, that could be one thing, or just your having been there. And so Final Fantasy VII to me is actually still a deeply beautiful game. But the pre-rendered backgrounds and all the rest, like, it was so sophisticated. And I think that game cost them $30 million, which is like crazy for back then. Like, that's insane, Yeah. There are games like that's more than what Control cost to make, 22 years later. So I think it's going to be a combination of both. Like, if you don't have the historical interest, it's like going back and reading manuscripts from the Middle Ages and like maybe a lack of sophistication in the writing compared to like maybe more of like the Renaissance. Right. But it's like, if you're interested in that, then you'll see through it and you'll be able to just enjoy it for what it is or get what you want out of it. But if you're there for the finest quality Latin or like like whatever it might be, then it's like, no, just go to the good shit. And so I don't think you're right or wrong. I just think it is what it is. I suspect you're probably young, right?
Yeah, probably. I would guess. Look, I think there are certain. That was definitely like a weird time, like people were trying to figure things out. Things didn't always age the best, but I do think there are certain games that were like way ahead of their time. Like I personally think, I genuinely think the original Crash Team Racing plays like a modern game. Like it plays like upsettingly well, like to the point where it's genuinely staggering. Obviously, there are certain things about it that like have aged pretty poorly. Like, obviously, frame rates were a big deal back in that generation, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Colin, I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure this is true. I didn't have as deep of a history with 2D games as you did, but like I'm pretty sure like there were a lot of 2D games before PS1, before N64 that ran at 60 frames. Like that ran at like
NES games ran at 60 frames.
Yeah, so like the downgrade of that, like that's kind of rough to get used to because that was like the period, like the beginning of the divot or the beginning of the decline as far as like frame rates go, because you just needed more power out of the machine to render these 3D environments. And so like that's kind of a bottleneck of that era as well, that people might have a rough time going back to, in addition to the blocky look of everything. But I kind of cut my teeth on those games. Like I find the aesthetic very, very charming. I love polygonal Crash Bandicoot specifically, like to the point where like I kind of wish that those old Crash Bandicoots got the Aspire treatment more than they got the Insane Trilogy treatment. Although I think Spyro is beautiful. I think the way Spyro looks is phenomenal actually, but there's something about that pointy, awkward looking Crash Bandicoot that I find so endearing and so charming and so fun, and kind of harkens back to, in some ways it looks more appropriate because that was, and you might not have remembered this at the time because you seem probably young. I mean, even I was too young to really see this, but the ads for Crash Bandicoot were specifically edgy. Like it was specifically like him going up to Nintendo being like, "You suck, fuck you." Like he didn't say that exactly, but like that was,
with the megaphone and all that. Kind of stuff.
And there was something about like the gruff kind of like the pointiness of Crash Bandicoot really lent itself well to that tone, and it was cool. Like and I love those games personally, but like I get it. Like you do have to kind of have a either like a 1 foot in the, you kind of have to have your toes in the pool already in some ways. You have to have a familiarity and affinity for it. Certain games hold up way better than others. They're like, dude, those Tomb Raider games, really important, but holy shit, like those were rough. And in comparison to Crash Bandicoot, it's night and day. Like Crash Bandicoot plays more like Astro Bot, and Tomb Raider plays like, I don't even know. Like you're trying to control a tank in Afghanistan with a fucking DDR pad that's half broken. Like it's really rough. So I don't blame you. But you know, there are games that like, I think Oddworld is one of those that just like, it looks fucking gorgeous. And that's another game that did pre-rendered backgrounds. With kind of superimposed pixels on top of it. So there's, I think, a lovely style to those games, but I don't think I would begrudge you for, you know, maybe finding them a bit too rough to look at. I think that's what's good about a lot of these ports, is that they're kind of rectifying a lot of what the errors of that era were, and kind of softening up the image a lot. Like the Tomb Raider games getting that remaster, the Legacy of Kain getting that remaster. We're getting obviously like more polished remasters of like, we got Spyro and Crash, obviously. So there's ways to enjoy these games in a modern capacity that I think will be more up your alley. And so that would be my only pushback, is that if you don't think that these games are for you, I would say like maybe wait for that inevitable port that will clean up a lot of the issues that you might have, because you might just find something worth your time there. Underneath all of the grit that you might not be willing to kind of dig through right now in their current form.
Yeah, well said. Shout out to that era. I mean, I think NES and SNES games, Genesis, all ran at 60 frames. And you would notice if they didn't, because there would be weird, Mega Man games did this, where it was like there would either be flicker, which is a kind of a clever way that they would deal with it by only showing things every other frame, which made the game flash, or it would just slow down. Famously, when you fight the dragon enemy in Wily's Castle in Mega Man 2, the game slows to a crawl because it can't deal with it anymore. And those games were developed in such really unique ways, where like big bosses would be like really parts of the background with just hitboxes on them and stuff. It was really, they used to make like really clever workarounds to extract power out of that. It wasn't until N64 and of course the disc-based systems that frame rate started to become a thing, because N64 games ran like shit. I mean, if you go back and look at N64 game frame rates, they're like literally like 20 frames. You know, it's like,
it's rough over there.
But like, that's what gave everything the sluggishness that was that I always associated with 3D games until really I was older, where I was like, yeah, there's a heaviness. Unless you were playing Doom or something, that's what made Doom so interesting. Even at the time, it's so fast, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, Blair Mitch Project, thank you for writing in. The final inquiry, this one is for you, though it's unusual, because I was just kind of curious if you played this stuff when you were a kid, because I didn't. Silence Do Good wrote in. That's Benjamin Franklin's pen name. It says, hi, Chris Collinsworth. Do you know who Chris Collinsworth is?
No. Is that a real person?
It's not your naming. It's CRIS, Collinsworth. He was a wide receiver for the Bengals in the 80s, but he's like a famous football commentator. Have you guys kept up with the return of the Backyard Sports franchise? Backyard Baseball 97 was re-released this past week on Steam, and Playground Productions announced they will be remastering 5 more retro titles from the franchise. This announcement was met with applause from gamers like me in their late 20s and early 30s. I still remember playing Backyard Baseball 01 and always picking Derek Jeter for my Melonheads All-Star squad. Any chance you guys check out these nostalgia classics? This was after my time, because these games started, I think, in 97 or something like that. Like you were saying, Backyard Baseball 97. But my cousin Junior used to play these games, and he's younger. He was born in 90 or 91, I don't know, something like that. And he was into it, and I used to play with him when I would go to their house, my Aunt Joni's house. And that was my introduction to kind of a lot of what Humongous Entertainment was doing, because Humongous Entertainment did like the putt-putt games, the Freddy Fish games, the Pajama Sam games, the Spy Fox games. And I was researching them in preparation for the show. And I'm like, yeah, I actually know a lot of this stuff from those specific people on PC. I don't know if these things had, like, did these games have a presence on like the backyard baseball games? Did they have a presence on like PlayStation? I think, yeah, they didn't. They weren't on PS1. There was some on PS2, I guess. So that would have been well after me. But I was curious, you're of that age, and I was wondering, do you remember were these games relevant to you at all? Because people loved these backyard sports games. And when this was announced a few weeks ago, I didn't include it in the news because I was like, I don't know if this is really relevant to people. But when I saw this letter, I had to acknowledge it. So Silence, thank you for writing it. Did you play this stuff? Was this part of your upbringing at all, the backyard sports games or any of the Humongous games?
Yeah, like I'm looking at it. It's so weird. Like I totally forgot about that. Yeah, I did play this Backyard Baseball in 97. I think specifically was the one that I played. Yeah, here he is. I'm scrolling through like a game. Like there was one kid that made me laugh because his name was Pablo Sanchez, and he would speak in Spanish, but like he just looked like you would not be able to, like, he just looks so generic. It's so funny.
He's a 24-year-old Dominican baseball player playing with 10-year-olds.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I remember playing these games as a kid. I think, to be fair, I think these were like of those games, like that like the putt putt and Freddy Fish. I think these were the games that I played the least. Like even among the video games that I played, like these games were like among the ones that I played, like maybe like very, 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 very sparingly. And the backyard baseball games, I played even more sparingly than the rest of them because like I just didn't really care that much about sports, but I did play it, and not as much as Putt Putt and Freddy Fish. I actually loved Freddy Fish when I was a kid. I remember that, like, having very, very fond memories of that game. But yeah, this is a blast, man, from the past. Looking at this stuff, this is kind of crazy. I totally forgot that this was even real. But like I'm seeing the art design of these characters, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. No, I remember Mark Anthony playing on the stereo in my mom's living room while I played. As a
lover of nostalgia, I know that these games are deeply nostalgic for people. So I had to, for younger people than me, like your age. So I had to acknowledge it. So yeah, Playground Productions is reviving the series. Humongous, I think, went out of business. As I recall, Atari was involved at some point, like the old Atari, in some of this stuff too. I don't know where the ownership stuff happens from here, but yeah, Mega Cat Studios is the developer now. They're based in Pittsburgh, which is interesting. So right in Dustin's neck of the woods. And what do they work on here? Oh, they've done they did a lot of like Oh, interesting. Yeah. Mega Cat is one of these companies, I think, that does like physical copies of Genesis and NES games too. I'm reading their shit now. Like, you know, those like people make like old new NES games and then sell them on cartridge. They're one of the people that do that, which is pretty neat. So this and it looks like they somehow acquired the rights to this stuff. So they're bringing back like backyard football, backyard baseball, backyard basketball, backyard hockey, backyard soccer. It says here they worked on Five Nights at Freddy's too. Into the Pit.
Oh, weird.
I don't know what the fuck that is. Anyway, okay. So that's it. Humongous Entertainment, the return of backyard baseball. Glad that people are excited about that. Again, reminds me of my... actually, when I went to a wedding earlier this year in South Carolina, people might remember it was for my cousin Junior, and that's the cousin I'm talking about. That was really into that stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of these old like PC... Like PC was such a weird place for me back in those days because it was all... I wasn't playing like Half-Life back then. I was playing like stuff like this, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Freddy Fish and all that stuff. And there was one game specifically that I thought I was hallucinating for the longest time because every time I brought it up, no one knew what it was. And I'm pretty sure, like, I would be surprised if you know what it is as well, because it's so weird. Like, are you familiar? Do you know what Lenny Loose Jocks is?
No, I'll look it up. Lenny.
It's fucking no one knows. It's so weird. Like I feel like this game was dropped into my lap from like an alternate timeline because it's the weirdest fucking thing, and I don't know how to describe it to people other than it was just this fucking lanky motherfucker. It was I think it was like a point and click kind of adventure game, but I don't even like the one that I played was like Lenny Loose Jocks in space, and it's just this fucking shirtless dude with dumb hair, and he would I have no. There's no way to describe this, but if you look it up,
there's a PC port of Lenny Loose Jocks in Space that came out in 2022. The game came out in '98. It says originally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's like an adventure game, like a side-scrolling adventure game.
Yeah, but like that's such a weird, like that's the stuff that I was playing on PC, just like weird shit that no one's
I've never
ever heard of.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Weird shit.
It's got positive reviews. So
I guess I no shot on playing that game again. That's definitely one of those. That's one of those games where I'm like, I'm sure if I went back to it, it would ruin like the positive memories I have associated with it because I just don't. I just know I'm not smart enough to play those games anymore, and then I'm gonna feel stupid as hell.
Oh my god!
Because I'm just like, man, 8-year-old Chris knew how to do this perfectly fine.
Would have aced it.
What is wrong with me? But yeah.
Well, that's all we have for this week. Another short episode, but not much to extract out of the news right now for us. So it be what it be.
It do.
And we're missing Dustin too. So
he'll be back next time.
Yeah, he'll be back if we let him back. If we let him back through customs. I'm gonna have to put in a word, get him through customs. Chris, what are you doing for the rest of your day?
I don't know. It's. I mean, we're done pretty early. It's only 1 p.m. Probably gonna start de-thawing some chicken now my garbage disposal is fixed. So maybe get to cooking, meal prep for the next couple days. I don't know. I'm working on some YouTube stuff right now that I'm trying to like brute force my way through because my time is really consumed by podcasts a lot, and I have like I have a weird work schedule where I'm really creative, or like I feel like the juices get flowing at like midnight. You know what I mean? And then I try to stay up as late as I can, but like I record so much on a schedule now that it's kind of hard to. I can't stay up till 5 a.m. anymore because I have to be up at like certain times to record just this show, and then like Star Tank at a reasonable hour. So it's kind of like trying to figure out a way to just kind of like give myself days where whatever, I'm just gonna write till like 6 a.m. and just figure it out.
Cool.
But it's tricky.
I understand. Being in a creative industry is hard because I only have so much creative energy. Like I can't come up with new things to do and new things to say. And you're not like putting a tchotchke together on a assembly line. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, or like serving a table or doing it where there's always going to be something. Like you got a job to do. It's got to be done. It's like, no, you got to actually kind of come up with like the premise. It's tough.
Yeah, you come up with the job, and it is easy if you have the time, but then it's like it's tricky to make that time sometimes, especially if you're an adult and you have like responsibilities and you have like a thing like relationships to maintain and like just chores to maintain, and just like adult life really kind of hampers a lot of that. And then you go to sleep at like 6 a.m. and you feel like a fucking dickhead because you're not supposed to be doing that, or society tells you you're not supposed to be doing that, whatever it may be. But I think I'm just slowly accepting that that's just kind of who I am. Like, I'm all right. I'm all right with the fact that like I'm just like a fucking nighthawk, and that's fine.
Yeah, I love keeping my unusual schedules and living my own life. I have no issues with people doing what they need to do. It's anathema to the way a lot of people live their lives, but to me, I'm like, no, I don't care. I just want to like,
I agree.
Be comfortable and do what I want to do. And I feel better as time goes on when I'm during the day, so that I want to hold on to it. That's always been the way I've felt. So anyway, I'm going to go for a walk. I think it's nice. It's like 60 degrees. It's not so bad out. And just hang out. Yeah, we're done a little bit early, and maybe do a little bit of work. Yeah. And that's it. So, well, Chris, I appreciate your time today. Hope you're well otherwise. And
of course.
We'll convene again soon. And thank you all out there for your love, kindness, and support of all things Last Day Media, Sacred Symbols, etc. on patreon.com/lastdaymedia for early ad-free access to every episode of this show and all the other shows we do. Early access goes to Defining Duke and to Punching Up and the other gaming podcasts too. The ability to submit your inquiries to all those different shows on the news feed, RSS feeds and links, so on and so forth. You know the drill. laststandmedia.store for merch. We'll see you next time. Until then, goodbye.
Take care, guys.
Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is conceived by, is written by, and is directed by me, Colin Moriarty. My co-hosts are Chris Raygun Maldonado and Dustin Furman. The show is produced by executive producer Dustin Furman. It's edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by my best friend, Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand shows, including Sacred Symbols, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we're grateful for your thoughtful and kind contributions to our independent endeavor. Thank you.